Hey there, Calm Trues. How you doing? Oscar, hey from Chile. Nice to see you. Barcelona, nice to see you. And Ricky Morty, is it Friday already? Yeah, I guess it is. Hey there, Robert, MMA Renegade, Flash Earl, Sean H, and Francis Drake. Nice. Already got a couple of you guys in here. Nice. So sorry, my box here, pretty unstable, moves around. So don't worry, it's not an earthquake. The mountain is unshakable, just so you know, but it's just a box that I have this laptop on so that way you guys can see me and you're not looking up my nose the whole time. What's going on there, Francis? Yeah, Superman. Nice. Heath Edwards. Hey, buddy. How's it going? Recognizing the good names, the commenters on the channel. Sam Weller. Nice. The artist that did my shirts. I'm waiting for him to redo another mountain logo for me, so he's been pretty good. Yeah, no, sure. Sam, I don't know how long this chat's going to be anyway, so don't worry. You might not miss much. Who knows? I'll try to be as least controversial as I can during the chat, although it's not as entertaining for a channel. Hey, Francis. Hey, John. Yeah. So cool. You guys are all here. Nice. Yeah, no, Sam did a great job on the Galanteans of the Galaxy one. The mountain one I got done by my cameraman and his friend, Anthony, whatever, he did that. He basically put the mountain one together, but Sam's working on a different mountain logo right now for me, so it's good. Hey there, Ricky. Is salt good for bodybuilding? Well, you do need salt, Ricky. You do need salt because your body cannot get hydrated without salt. It helps you absorb. That's why, cows, they have a salt lick. They'll lick salt and stuff to get hydrated. Salt does play a massive role in hydration. So yeah, salt's necessary. I've never watched my salt intake. I've never had it low or anything like that. And, so there is one bodybuilder actually talks about it, Jean-Pierre Fuchs, where he was competing and his big rule was to avoid salt. And he found out later on that was why he always had trouble getting shredded on stage when he was competing, or a lot of times it was really hit and miss. So salt does play a role. It doesn't always make you look bloated. It's more about the balance of salt and potassium. It's not about salt itself. Moss Superman, full body workouts 5 times a week. What do I think about that? Well, I talk about it in my playlist on workout splits. So if you haven't watched that playlist, just watch it. And also watch the Pushing the Limits playlist as well, where I do whole body workouts 4 or 5 days in a row. There can be limitations of it. See, the problem is with giving people a template that is a little bit on the edge of overtraining is that they don't necessarily know when to back off. And that's really the trick, is about listening to what is going on, looking at what's happening in your body, what experiences you're having in the body, and then adjusting from there. But if you just blindly follow a 5-day split and you blindly just do whatever rep range is heavy or whatever, and you don't really take some strategy in that whole, or into account, I guess, okay, that's the words I'm trying to look for here. If you don't take strategy into account based on this type of frequency, you'll hurt yourself. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you'll overtrain at some point. I mean, there's guys that are squatting every day. A lot of them aren't necessarily natural when they are squatting every day. And the guys that are natural, that are squatting every day, are definitely taking into account what type of poundages they're doing and all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be based on the individual. Some individuals have better recovery than others, but you have to take into the law of individuality. You have to take this law into account. If you don't listen to the body, just say, hey, Johnny, what's his name, could do 5 days a week, full body workout. I'm going to do that and do the exact same intensity he's doing. You're probably going to screw something up 100% if you just fly blindly. It's kind of like saying Mario Andretti can race a car around a corner, and then I should be able to do that at the same speed, and then you're going to crash into the side because there are subtle reasons why Mario Andretti could do it and you can't. So, but these things are also based on the car itself. Say he has a race car and you have a Volkswagen, there's going to be a problem, right? So that's it. Yeah, Francis Drake, that's actually a good idea. Plans on doing a t-shirt saying it's not my bike. That's definitely a good idea for a t-shirt. I think that's good. I like that. Usually I get ideas from people. People actually give me the ideas because, like I said, I can't see myself on this channel. I can watch myself, but because it's just me, you know, I take a lot of things that I do for granted, but then other people point it out and say, hey, I really like that about you, or I hate it about you, and whatever. And then that's how things like even the train the muscles, not the joint shirt. That's how it came to be. Somebody said, hey, you always say that. Why don't you make a t-shirt out of it? And that's how it came to be born. So yeah, sometimes you guys notice things that kind of go over my head because it's just normal for me to be me. So yeah, that's a good idea. Not my bike. That's funny. Okay, just also just a little bit of shopkeeping here. If you guys want me to make sure that I answer your question, don't be afraid to offer a super chat or a donation. You just press the dollar sign, and it takes your question right to the top of the screen, and I'll answer that as first priority. Because the last chat I did was 2.5 hours, and I never got one donation, like nothing. So some of you guys are Patreon supporters, so no worries. You guys aren't obligated by any means or whatever to you know. But at the same time, it does help me continue to do these chats, because if I'm not really getting any support for it, then I'm just going to go back to doing videos and stop the live chats, because there's not enough support for it, right? So I have to kind of go with what's the best use of my time too. So you know, working for minimum wage or less than or negative minimum wage, it's not good. So I'd probably be better off just doing video editing or something. So okay, so here we go. Andreas Olson, what type of program would I recommend for 21-year-old? I've been training for 5 years. I definitely recommend the 2-day split programs I have on my website, 100%. I mean, it's a good place to start. And then you could be doing higher frequency and try whole body workouts along with that, back and forth, and then experiment with some higher volume. But I found you get the most results with higher frequency for a lot of people, as long as they're adjusting the volume accordingly. And in my programs, I do that. But again, my program doesn't replace your own awareness. Nothing replaces your own awareness. So if you find you're not recovering, then either lower the weights, lower the amount of sets, or take an extra day off or something like that. So that's something to take into account. But anyway, that's what I would recommend. Hey, Jason, how to target abs instead of hip flexors with sit-ups? Should I focus on not locking my feet to the floor, even if it means I have to reduce the weight? The thing is, I never do sit-ups, Ethan. I never did. And some people argue that sit-ups are actually bad, because when you're in a squat position or a shoulder press position or whatever, you want to maintain that arch of the back. Now, some people, they think training abs is going to make them have abs, and that's just not true. It's just fat loss. That's really all abs are. It's not necessarily about training. But if you are going to train the abs, I would recommend your knees up and flare the knees out. So that way you're not bringing the hip flexors, and then curl your bum under. That's what you do. You curl your bum under and roll the spine. The abs don't lift the legs. There's an isometric contraction there, but all you're going to do is work the hip flexors so much and maybe irritate your psoas muscles or your hip flexors. And then when you go to squat, you're patang, you know, screwing something up. So that's another reason why I didn't train abs a lot, or if at all in a lot of cases, was because when I trained abs, I noticed that when I go to squat, my core was fatigued, and I wanted to make sure my core was definitely not fatigued when I go to put 500 pounds on my back or something like that. So that's another reason why I didn't really train abs. Jason, can I go to the gym every day as long as I rest the sore muscles but train the fresh ones? Yeah, you could for sure. But I mean, there is something to be said for overall nervous system, immune system fatigue as well, right? So I wouldn't say that you can never ever have a day off, but it's good to push the limits and see where that is, right? Where is the real limit, and where is the limit that people tell you have? So I do recommend taking a day off once a week or so. But yeah, if you find you don't need it, then you don't have to. Just keep training. Yeah. G Shirka, he trained with John Beer down in Florida. He's a great guy. No, he's a pretty funny guy, actually. I met him in person. G Shirka, I met him. John Beer is a pretty funny guy. He has a pretty dry sense of humor. It's pretty hilarious, actually. So he's funny. Did you reach your genetic limit? How long did it take? Well, I kept on improving right up until I was 32, 33 years old. But a dislocated shoulder kind of threw off my gains a little bit, threw off my bench press groove, all this kind of stuff. And then I started, and I was also pursuing hockey at the time. So yeah, do I think I could have got better? I think I could have got even better, yes. But I just sidelined my passion into another sport for about 10 years. So that's another reason why I didn't keep on getting better at that point. Sean H, thanks for the super chat, Sean. Thanks. Train on instinct. It's great advice. Yeah. I mean, the thing is that you want to get an idea of what is working based on following a structure. Like somebody said, hey, should I train 3-day split half of the week and then a 2-day split the other half? Should I do this? Should I do that? People are so obsessed with variables, just varying all the variables up. Well, no scientific experiment goes on like that. So what you want to do is make sure that you have everything structured at first, and then you just play with one variable at some point once you get an idea of how your body is adapting. And then from there, you start to learn the body rather than just throwing everything, including the kitchen sink, into the soup pot and then wondering why your soup tastes like crap, right? It's like, it really is a process of learning. So if you want to learn what is really happening, you don't want to just mix things up all together. You get all this sickness on the internet. It's just this mind. It's really a mental illness, to tell you the truth, where people want to take a leopard and then put hooves on it, and then they want to give it horns, and then they want to put a baby diaper on it at the same time and think that somehow this is their original creation. Your creation is stupid at that point. You know what I'm saying? So you want to be in alignment with the forces that are working through your body and find out how those forces really work. But just being creative doesn't necessarily mean better. And that's where I think people get lost a lot of times. They get lost in the corridors of the mind instead of this grounded here and now type thing. So if you want to become better at anything, you want to observe and be here observing neutrally what is going on. And the only way to observe is to have something to observe. So have a program or some sort of sets and reps or some exercises. Observe what is happening, and slowly but surely you'll start to see patterns where this happens when this happens and that happens when that happens, right? And this is how you expand your wisdom. And it's a time, it takes time. It took me a long time to figure out some things that were going on in my training that I was not sure of. And then I'm like, oh shit, okay, now if I look back over the last 5 years, this is what was going on, right? So sometimes when I give you a program, like if you have a program or something, like I can fast track some of these things, and you can all of a sudden like step into something that works to a point, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that that thing is not prone to evolution either, right? So yeah. So anyway, that's what this channel is about, is expanding your awareness first and foremost, not necessarily just being creative for the sake of creative, because if there's too many things in the pot, you won't be able to figure out what's going on. It's just like mantra practice. When you teach meditation to people and stuff, you give them certain mantras, and certain mantras have certain energy that do certain things. And the first thing people do is they start saying, oh, I want to do this mantra, but for this, and I want to do that mantra for this and that, and they're doing 30 different mantras. They don't know what the hell's going on, and they don't know what the flavor is of one vibration to another. And so it's kind of the same thing with training. I mean, if I was just doing random exercises in the gym and just all of a sudden one day saying, oh, here, I got bigger, but I don't know exactly what the exercises were that I did to get bigger, because they were always randomly changing, then I wouldn't necessarily become a scientist in creating an effect, cause and effect. So yeah, that's kind of a very sagest way of talking about this stuff, but hopefully that helps you. Yeah. Joe Smith, thanks for the $2 there, Joe. Eating is the hardest part. Tips on force feeding. I never really was much of a force feeder there, Joe. What I did though was that I would eat cleaner, and as I ate cleaner, my appetite would go up. So this is one thing that's underestimated. A lot of people think if they force feed fats and sugars and all this kind of stuff into their system, that somehow that's going to create more muscle mass. But usually what it does, it creates a lot more body fat and less muscle mass, because you're feeding everything. You're not just feeding the protein stores. You're not just feeding the muscle tissue. You're actually feeding the fat stores too. So what I would do is cut fat out of my diet and just have a little bit of it, like a tablespoon or two of flaxseed oil a day. And then immediately my appetite would go up. When I cut sugar down, immediately my appetite went up, because I was eating meals that were clean. And now every bit of food that was going into my capacity for my digestive system was being used to build muscle. And that's really what I did. And of course, my appetite will go up because I wasn't putting in the energy calories so much. Energy calories are what give you that full feeling. Straight protein, low-fat protein does not give you that full feeling. Definitely not. And you can eat more of it, although your mind might get bored of it, but you can necessarily eat more. You can eat more cleaner food, for sure. Francis Drake, why prisoners have big muscles without weights? Well, actually, they do have weights. A lot of prisoners do have weights. And they're doing body weight stuff like, say, chins and stuff, where you can get some back development from that. But also, these guys are also doing body weight stuff, but with other people sitting on their back. A lot of times they're having another guy sit on their back as they're doing bench presses, or they're having somebody else sit on their feet as they're doing leg extensions. So it's not no weights. They do have weights. Some of the weights are actually heavier. How many of you guys are bench pressing 200 pounds on your back plus your own body weight, like 250, 260 for reps? I'm telling you, this is heavy weight. So they are using weight. They're not using no weights. They're actually using each other as weights. So there is some weights going on. It's not done just by body weight. Here's the other thing that's a real pet peeve of mine on YouTube. People look at Instagram and YouTube and they'll see somebody that's kind of lean. And I see these guys like advertising Facebook. They're skinny as hell. Like they look like they haven't eaten for a month or two, or maybe 3 months. And they're skinny and they got some abs, and people are like, oh, wow, the guy's so developed from bodyweight stuff. No, he's freaking skinny. He's got a fast metabolism, but he doesn't have muscle mass. I mean, a gust of wind will take this guy, from this town to the next. I mean, there's not a lot of muscle there. You know what I'm saying? So there's a difference between lean and big, and people mix this up all the time. So yeah, I mean, any exercise can help you with the whole burning calories and whatever. And if you stick to a diet, or if you've got a fast metabolism, you can get lean. But that's not muscle mass. So if you're talking about guys that are just lean that come out of prison, that's a different thing too. So, hey Jason, if you skip leg training, would upper body continue to grow or eventually stop? No, upper body can grow. Whatever you train can grow. You don't need to train legs in order for upper body to grow. I've seen it. I've seen a lot of guys with just upper body development, no leg development. So, yeah. Hey Jason, recovering from a torn bicep 7 weeks ago after surgery. Any tips on how I should train? Light, easy. You're going to have to listen to your body in the way that you have shoulder instability that led to the bicep tear, because sometimes that's part of it too. A lot of times people look at the bicep tear and they say, oh, it's or a muscle tear, and they say, oh, it's just the muscle was weak or the tendon was weak or something like that. But it wasn't that at all. A lot of times it has to do with an unstable joint that led to increased tension of the muscle. So the muscle had to do twice the job as opposed to what it was supposed to do, because the joint wasn't stabilizing, and then therefore the muscle tear happened. So just my best advice is to start small, start really light, and work your way into it. I never had surgery for anything like that. I just didn't want to do surgery, because a lot of times surgeons don't necessarily put things back together the way they're supposed to. And I know there's lots of different ways they do things with pins and nails and screws, and sometimes they're made of metal and all this stuff. And yeah, I knew one guy that had a bicep tear, and it was a proximal tear, not a distal tear. And he recovered pretty fast, but the distal tear he found was extremely hard to recover from. That took him a long time. So yeah, you got to take all that into account. Hey, Russ, are you still here? I'm going to scroll up here and find Russ. Where are you, Russ? Let me just try to find you here. Damn, I can't find Russ. I can't see. Going through these comments is a real pain in the butt, I tell you. Oh, there you are. Okay. Oh, great, Russ. I'm glad you're tuning in somehow. I don't get any phone calls from you though, Russ. You're tuning into my videos, so I can see you just want to watch my videos, but so you can click me off anytime you want. Just shut up, Jason. Boom. Just that's it. Conversation done. See, perfect relationship with Jason then, right? Because you don't have to listen to the stuff that you don't want to listen to when I used to harass you at the gym all the time. Yeah. Okay, so let me see here. MA Renegade, y'all can donate through PayPal also, so Jason gets a higher percentage. Yeah, guys, if you want to donate through PayPal, you can. It's on my website. Donate. There's a donation button there if you want to donate to my channel and help keep it alive, keep it running. So, okay, pecs or delts for looking jacked. If you only give one press 100% of your time. Okay, I would say, honestly, it's a hard one, but I'd say pecs, honestly. Pecs are really, the thing that make people look more impressive, I would say, but delts are pretty impressive too, so it's a hard one to say. I don't know, these questions you guys give me. Hey, Cal, you always give me like these weird questions. You're always philosophizing, my friend. I don't know. Chicken or the egg, I don't know. I think they both really contribute. Depends which angle you're looking at the physique from. That's definitely a valid answer. So there you go. Okay, Torrin Forsberg. Jason, I appreciate the advice you gave me on experimenting with Smith machine squats. I've been doing this the past 2 weeks, and it found a real nice groove that's adding some nice volume to my quads. Nice, Torrin. Yeah, a lot of times this path, when it comes down to natural bodybuilding, is not about the thing that's going on in the fitness circle right now where they say you have to do an exercise this way. Because a lot of times the person that says you have to do the exercise this way is the one that is most comfortable doing it that way. They're not doing it because it's torturing them or tearing their body in pieces or whatever. They're doing it because that's the way that feels right to their body. And then they're trying to impose that on everyone else. And it's not always the case. Now, there are some people that are doing some teaching that are very pure in their teaching. They're saying, okay, this is the things to watch out for. Here's how to change exercise accordingly, depending on how you're built. So they're trying to teach a template at first for a beginner to start with, and then are open to the fact that that template will change or is open to little tweaks here and there. So yeah, that's the thing. So in bodybuilding, the best thing you can do is find a way to do the exercise where there's the least amount of joint pain and the most amount of gains. That's really what you want to do, because ultimately, if you're getting joint pain, then the joints are going to basically keep you from training. And so there's so many guys on my YouTube channel, they're like, oh, you don't squat low enough and stuff. I'm like, well, you're not built like me. The 90-degree squat is more than low enough for me because I have to bend over so much because of the long femurs, all this kind of stuff. It's not a flexibility issue. I can almost do the splits, whatever. But the problem is that they're saying, no, going down lower is going to be better. Well, if my knees feel like they're going to break off by going down lower, although I'm strong enough to go lower, but my knees will break off, my lower back will round, like this is not the right way to train. And no matter how much flexibility training I do, I can't change my constitutional body type. I can't change the joints from stretching. So yeah, the difference between me and a lot of people is that I said, screw all of you. I listened to myself, found the way to squat that works for me, and I got lots of leg development from it. So this Smith machine squat that you're doing that feels comfortable on the joints, but hard on the muscles, that's the key. You want to find these exercises that are the hardest on the muscles and the easiest on the joints, because the joints are already taking a beating. People think that somehow by beating your joints to death and grinding them into dust is somehow making them adapt. No, it's not. It's just tearing them apart. That's all it's doing. Oh, there's Russ. Okay, he's still here. Russ says, I'm calling you tomorrow. Yeah, sure. There's always tomorrow, Russ. There's always tomorrow. You're too busy chasing your dreams of being a big businessman, moving away, taking off out of Murph's gym, don't need us anymore. Yeah, whatever. Okay, fine. Some friend you are, man. Hey, Witcher Works, how you doing? Chase, how's it going, bro? Okay, Sam Weller says, Daisy wants to know what software you use for music. Logic Pro X, that's what I make my music on. Yeah. I'm going to make her a love song. Hey, Sam, wouldn't it be funny? You just getting music sent to you from other people all over the world to your wife? I won't do that. I'm joking, obviously, but okay. I just got Jeb Stewart. I just wanted to say thanks for the content. Have a mocha on me. Thanks, Jeb. Yeah, it's so nice of you. Thank you. Thanks for sending me the $5 super chat there. Thank you. Okay. Okay. So Kieran Mehagan, and again, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. I remember you said training to failure can be incorporated, but in isolations only. Craig just says you should train to failure for everything, but you can naturals do this. Okay. First of all, Kieran, you're misunderstanding everything I'm saying, because I never once said that you can only do failure on isolations. I never once said that. I don't know where you got that idea from, but you're obviously misunderstanding everything I'm saying. So we're going to clear this up right now. I go to failure on every exercise. You see when I'm doing dumbbell press, just watch my clips. Do you think that I just stop? I mean, you can see that I can't even get another positive rep. I'm actually stopping the reps. And a dumbbell press is a compound exercise. That's not an isolation. So I don't know if you're not watching my videos or not, but I think I might have found somebody else that needs to go up on the mountain, because I keep telling you guys not to scroll through my shit. Watch what I'm doing. Don't just like listen to my words. Actually watch what I'm doing too. And then from there, you'll get a better understanding of what I'm saying rather than misinterpreting what I'm saying. So, all right. Okay, that's enough shit for you. I'm not trying to give you shit here, but at the same time, I'm just saying, I've been showing you obviously what I am doing. I'm not, I am practicing what I'm preaching. Now, what I said about failure when it comes down to lower back stuff, when it comes down to squats or deadlifts, is that those exercises can be more dangerous to go into failure, because if your lower back hits failure first before your legs do, then your back won't be able to stabilize properly and you will end up with a herniated disc or a tweaked ligament or something. You see what I'm saying? So that's where you have to be careful. I also said not to necessarily hit failure when you're going into super heavy rep ranges, like 4 or 5 reps. It's best to be a little conservative there, because that's when there's more danger. But when it comes down to sets of 8, 10, 12, like, yeah, going to failure is a good thing. I mean, you want to go to failure and you want to challenge that muscle. That's definitely one very valid way of doing it. So again, I don't care what somebody else on the internet says, just, because whatever they say is all BS to me too anyway. Although some of these guys are actually pretty nice, so I can't say anything negative about them specifically, but I'm just saying that I listen to my own experience. I don't listen to what other people say. People can say anything. They can say bunny rabbits can fly, and whatever. They can say whatever they want, but that stuff doesn't really mean much unless I can ground it in my physical body and experience it. So what I'm sharing with you is what I've grounded and experienced. So I'm not here to compare what I say to other people with you. Just talk to me. I'll share what I know, and then there you go. So, all right. So, Matthew Shank, what's up, Jason? Matt from Jacksonville, Florida. Thanks a lot for the super chat there, Matt. Thank you. Thanks for the support there, buddy. Mountain. Anybody from Australia here right now? If you're from Australia, my prayers are with you, my friend. So hopefully everything's going okay there. I know it's not, but hopefully there's some rain or something comes soon. Quantum Cola, Happy New Year to you and your family, mate. All the best. Been some time since I posted on here. Take care, my friend. Been a year since I've lifted back and disc injuries. Yeah, sorry to hear that there, Quantum. Yeah, I mean, the thing is that you can lift a little bit. I mean, but at the same time, I understand there's different severities of different back injuries that sometimes, I mean, if you can't even roll over in the bed, there's definitely no way that you're getting to the gym. You know what I'm saying? And it's probably the best thing for you not to at that point. But yeah, at some point you may be able to walk around properly and move, and then you could just basically do back supported type stuff. And then from there, you could just get the blood flowing. One thing I will say to you is don't underestimate blood flow. Just doing light movements and easy movements, just getting that blood flowing can help with overall recovery of the body and help you maintain a healthier system. So just because you can't be the biggest squatter in the world or deadlifter right now, don't underestimate these isolation movements and stuff, even when you're not using the lower back, but you're still using the system and the muscles and you're still pumping blood flow. So hopefully that helps you out a little bit. Well, Cal Morris. Oh, thanks for the super chat there, Cal. Thanks, that's really nice. That's really doing it well. And you don't even have a freaking question, so you guys are being nice today. Thanks for helping me out, guys, with the super chats. Helps me be able to do this, so no, I appreciate it. Thank you. And I appreciate you always being around, Cal. You're always here commenting, and you're pretty positive. No matter what you're saying, you're always positive, easygoing, easy guy to get along with. So thanks. You've been here for quite a while. It's been several years now you've been commenting on this channel and stuff. So thanks for that. Thanks for the support, and thanks for constantly, putting up with my stupidity. Flash Errol, if you're lean, can you still build muscle? Yes, you can. You can still build muscle if you're lean. You don't have to be fat to put on muscle. I put on muscle lots when I was 15, 16, 17 years old, 18, 19, put on muscle. It was hard. It wasn't easy. I was only putting on 3 or 4 pounds of muscle a year and, going through puberty and everything like that. But I was putting on muscle. And by putting on muscle, what happens is you just got to eat the right foods and things. But you can be kind of lean and still put on muscle. Now, how lean, that's different. If you're 4% body fat, that might be a little bit more of a challenge. But I'm not going to say it's impossible. It's a matter of finding that happy medium in your constitution and what seems to be the best body fat level for you. Torn Forsberg, Jason, I'm trying to bring up my chest. Would training chest daily with fewer sets be a way to advance, or more volume in fewer days per week? I'd say try both. I'd do higher frequency for a period of time with lower volume. You could try chain it every day for about 2-3 weeks. You'll notice that there'll be more of a perma pump. You'll have to stick with higher rep ranges for the most part. And maybe you can do it one heavy day out of that week or whatever, a heavier day, but try to do it when you're not sore. And then from there, when you start to do higher volume, then you could do, those big pumper workouts of 12 or 15 sets or something like that for a week or two and see what type of result you get. But there's definitely something to higher frequency training, which is what I always talk about. It's just a different focus because the quality of the sets is much deeper because you can manufacture more intensity when there's not this energetic fatigue going on. Like you don't have enough glycogen, enough creatine, enough energy stores. But in the first couple sets, your energy stores are stacked to the top. So those sets have a higher quality of adaptation in the body. That's what I found. So when you're doing 3 sets, the first 3 sets is when you're really getting the biggest muscle damage, I find. And then from there, you're just pumping blood into the area, but you're not necessarily breaking down the tissue quite as much, although there is some breakdown. But I'm hoping I'm explaining this right, but really what I'm saying is because you have so much energy, the energy isn't the weak link in the first 3 sets. So if you can get 15 sets in a week of the high quality sets as opposed to 15 sets in one workout where you don't really even have the energy for the last 5 sets to really push the muscle, that's going to be different quality, right? It's going to cause a different type of adaptation. So I like both ways. It's just that one way I find causes a lot more strength gain because you're working in the higher weights as well and higher intensity for those same amount of reps. So yeah, I'd say it's worth a try for sure. Okay, let me see here. Sorry, I think the comment section is just running around me here. Oh, Black Phoenix. Yeah, how you doing, buddy? Francis Drake, any experience with a rotator cuff tear? I don't know what I've torn, but I've torn lots of stuff. So from hockey, I got hit from the side. There's this big fat guy coming, from left field, and I was going into the boards to go get a puck from somebody that had the puck in the boards. And I was reaching with a stick to go get the puck, and then this guy was coming up on my left, and I tried to stop him, not understanding because I was looking at my peripheral vision. I couldn't see that he was already going 15 or 20 kilometers an hour, and I tried to stop him just as an isolation movement with a force negative, and I know for sure I heard a tearing sound in here, and it was a pretty good pain. It was like rear delt / rotator cuff or something. So pretty sure I did some damage in there at that time. That was over 10 years ago, but yeah, that was a little bit of a tweaker to get over. So yes, I have tweaked the rotator cuff a few times. Yeah. Okay, Joseph Benetta, is 16 sets weekly per muscle group enough? Okay, Joseph, sorry, I didn't mean to mispronounce your name there. But Joseph, watch my videos on sets and reps. There's one video in there, weekly volume as opposed to workout volume. Watch that video because sets per week is just another one of these hipster ways of just measuring things analytically, but throwing out massive variables in the process. Just because you do 16 sets in a week, it's not the same as doing 16 sets throughout the week. Like I just talked about, the quality of the sets is totally different. And if you do one workout, if I could do 100 sets on Monday for chest and still recover from that because there's only so much damage I can do to the muscle, and then it's already recovered by the time 3 days go around or 4 days. Sometimes the volume doesn't have the same sort of linear amount of damage as people think. You know what I'm saying? So, the first 4 or 5 sets, the most damage is done, and then it kind of the graph goes like this more because you're using diminishing levels of weights, you're using lighter weights and all that sort of thing. So yeah, it could be 15 sets can be more than enough for a muscle group, depending on how you disperse it. But it just depends on how you disperse it and what intensity levels are there, all that stuff. What type of movements you're doing, what type of crossover you have. I mean, some people have, they're doing a lot of shoulder presses and then they're doing a lot of bench presses. The front delts are getting killed, fried all the time because they're doing all these different movements all over the place for front delts and chest. So there's a lot of factors to take into account. But yes, it can be enough. Jason, what are your goals for 2020? Jay Rene or Reen. So again, I don't know. I'm gonna have to learn how to read names, I think. What are my goals for 2020? My goal for 2020 is to make this channel sustainable. It's almost kind of sometimes gets to that point, but not quite yet. It's far ways away. I need to get it at least 10 times bigger than it is, to tell you the truth. So to make it really sustainable to be able to continue what I'm doing. That's one of my goals, but that's just kind of an overarching sort of goal that's been continuing from the last 5 or 6 years, right? Because I do enjoy making videos, I do enjoy training, I do enjoy talking about stupid subjects like comedy stuff, like with Mr. G and all this. I do enjoy all that stuff. So this channel makes that happen. It makes me able to do that, and I enjoy sifting through a lot of dirt. Okay, there's a lot of dirt on the internet. But I end up finding jewels amidst that dirt, and a lot of you guys are those jewels. Like I found an incredible amount of good people on this channel, and on my other channel too. But this channel, it's amazing, like how many good people I've actually tuned into. People that think in an intelligent way, where they're really seeking truth in their body or truth in any form. They're not looking to just be dominated by insecurity and suffering and just perpetuate that everywhere. They're just looking to say, hey, how do I live, and what's the most efficient way, and how can I become aware of what's right for me? And yeah, those types of people are always admirable because they're not so dogmatic. I find dogmatic and fanatical people are the worst people to deal with because they don't care about you. Usually they care about their fanaticisms more than you. And they discard you faster than anything. I mean, they just are looking for some person to imprint with the way they think. And I mean, one could say that that's what I'm doing here, but I'm really not. I'm really saying the way I'm thinking is going to free you as well. It's not going to constrain you by any sort of prison of any sort. You know what I'm saying? So that's the difference in the type of thinking I'm sharing with you. So yeah, in 2020, to meet more people that are able to receive what it is I have to offer, that would be great. I think that's a good goal. And yeah, if it's not viable financially, but it's viable through connection with people, that's really the highest financial sort of gain. That's the highest currency, right? And the rest just takes care of itself. So yeah, so I think that's my main overarching goal. The other goal is to continue to train, work with little tweaks in the body, and make sure that things are as healthy as possible. The body is always a work in progress, right? There's always something that's going right, something that's not necessarily going as right as you like. Sometimes your back is tight, sometimes your knees are tight, and you're like, okay, what's going on here? What do I need to change in my training? What do I need to change in my diet, my nutrition? Like about 1.5 years ago, I went magnesium deficient. I'm like, what's going on? Well, then we found out our water supply here had too much chlorine, and so then we got a filtration system and all that kind of thing, and that helped. But yeah, that was brutal. I was like laying in bed for 2 days, kind of like this, like almost like I had the aches and shakes, and almost like I felt like I had a flu. It was so bad. So yeah, just constantly honing nutrition, constantly honing what the body needs now, constantly honing the training, and also the expression of what it is I'm doing is always fun. So I've been reading a lot of fiction books lately, though. So anyway, there's somebody just offered a super chat. I'm going to answer this first. Thanks, Eduardo, for the super chat. Hey, Jason, I've been working out powerlifting, bodybuilding for a year. Now I'm thinking about creatine. What are your thoughts on how it works, etc.? Thanks. Love your channel. Thanks, Eduardo. I think creatine is valid. It's a good supplement. It will saturate the muscles with energy. You will notice that there will be an extra bit of strength and endurance through your upper body movements mostly. Your lower body movements, you may not feel the strength gain. And that's exactly the way I experienced it, along with there was a few studies to back this up. And I read one a long time ago. I don't have the reference of the link at this point, but I remember reading it and saying, oh yeah, see, I experienced that. So the study caught up with my wisdom. See, this thing, you'll find that a lot of things you discover in this whole training thing, that all of a sudden there's a study that pops out of nowhere that then starts to support what you already experienced a long time ago. And the previous studies didn't support what you knew, but all of a sudden one comes out and validates your thinking, right? So it's always good you always remember that. That's why I remembered it now. So yeah, creatine is fine. I mean, it's in your chicken and fish. Creatine's a totally natural substance. So yeah, I would say it's not a bad thing to take from time to time. But I don't really notice much of a difference now when I take it. I almost notice, like, if I eat a lot of protein, if I'm making sure that I'm eating pretty clean, it's almost like creatine doesn't really do too much for me, although I get watered over from it a little bit too. So you will notice that it'll be harder for you to see your gains. Like, you might be one of those people like me that basically has a harder time looking lean with creatine. It's almost like the minute I take it, I water over like 5% body fat. It makes me look like a water buffalo to a point. But yeah, I mean, if it helps you train, helps hydrate that muscle cell and everything like that, there's nothing wrong with it, because they say more hydration in the muscle cell, then the more nutrients can carry in and out of that cell, right? So yeah, I would say, yeah, go for it. There's nothing wrong with it. As long as you don't have any kidney issues or anything like that, it should be fine. Metal Man, I lost my wallet, had to cancel my cards. We'll hit you up when I get it sorted. I appreciate your time. Yeah, no problem, Metal Man. I'm not, I'm also not saying that you can't tune in if you're not giving me some support or something like that. I mean, I appreciate it. And everybody's at a different financial state too in their life and stuff. So, the first priority is just for me to be able to continue to help you. I'm not saying that you have to help me in order for me to help you, but it definitely helps keep me being able to do it rather than me spending time doing other projects or something. So, but I appreciate you being here, Metal. You're always funny. You always add really funny comments and stuff. And if you guys can't pay me through any sort of donation, or you don't want to become a patron, or you don't want to buy a workout program, that's fine. But if you can, share this link with your friends. Share my videos with your friends, family, other people you know. Share it on your Facebook. Share links on your Instagram or whatever. Like, try to help me get my channel out there, because if I have more views and more people seeing my stuff, then it's easier to make it sustainable. That's all. So I appreciate any help you give me. And most importantly, I just appreciate you guys being you and just, sharing your time with me, because yeah, honestly, we're like best friends. So I'm just like that bum friend that you had to support. You know what I mean? That just, I'm just kidding, but I'm not really a bum, but you know what I mean? Okay. Crisis 729. Jason, how do you think goal setting and intentions are really important for training and life in general? Well, intention is just really focused desire, right? So first thing you need to do is create the desire, or have to have the desire in you. So it doesn't matter what goal I give you. If you don't have the desire to pursue that goal, the goal is just kind of an empty promise, right? So I could say, hey, there's $1 billion in gold across the street, but if you're not interested in gold, then you're not going to make that trek across the street, because you're like, well, I just don't care about that, right? So people have to be honest with themselves of what they really want. And when they're honest about what they really want, then you may find that they may take different actions in their life than they are taking. The other thing is, they sometimes need to be educated about what they should want. Right? Sometimes people don't know the repercussions of how they're living. And because of this, their desires are, put in one direction or another. One example could be, like, say somebody is severely overweight, severely unhealthy, and basically they are ignorant to the fact that they probably are going to die in a couple of years from a heart attack or diabetes or whatever, right? If they don't know this, it will be easy for them to have the desire just to eat all the time instead of work out, instead of take care of their physical health or exercise. So through education, they may have a shift in their consciousness as far as where their desire will go. It's like, I want to live. Okay, now what are the steps that I need to take in order for that to happen? And then they can make goals and intentions from there. So yeah, I mean, really what you have to do is educate yourself about what are your priorities. And if you do have a goal of being a better bodybuilder, just for the sake of this channel, we're talking about fitness and stuff. Why is that important to you? Try to come up with as many benefits or ideas around that will help support you and your life in the most holistic possible way. Because if you say, oh, I got to become a bodybuilder, but I've got to make this sacrifice, that sacrifice, this sacrifice, and then in the end, you'll realize that you climbed a skyscraper, but it's the wrong building. You're like, oh, my life is kind of shit. I never can eat what I want. I never can do anything. I never can be with my friends. You might actually think, geez, this is really not the lifestyle I want. I don't want to be a professional bodybuilder because I'm always getting ready for another show or a photo shoot, and I'm always miserable because I'm on some sort of, diet or something. So educate yourself about something and try to make it as holistic as possible. What I mean is try to integrate it. Like I'm doing my hobby, my expression, and my living at the same time. That's what I'm doing through this YouTube channel and through lifting weights. I'm trying to make everything kind of one thing, rather than me having these separate partitions in my life. I started, okay, this is what I do for work. This is what I do for fun. This is what I do for my health, and all these separate little compartments, right? I try to bring it all together. So as I walk and I breathe, I'm supporting myself, expressing myself, and enjoying myself all at the same time, and taking care of all the grounded things of life. So I think that's really what people's real goal is, but they are in pieces trying to make it all one again, So yeah, I think there's power to that. There's power to having an overarching view of your life and what you're doing and why you're doing it. And the first thing I will say is clean up anything that you're doing based on your own emotional suffering. If you can do that like through a meditation practice and stuff and through self-reflection, just become free of your own dogmatic shit that is making you suffer. And then from there, you can start to make goals that are going to have a higher sustainability, because they're going to be driven by play and more by fun and practicality. And when you combine all this together, you're going to have an easier time living your life and enjoying it, as opposed to being driven by insecurity and by anxiety and depression, these things. So yeah, I think that's probably some good advice right there. I think you pretty much got some great wisdom there. Mountain. You have come to the mountain, you've gotten some advice, so there you go. So yeah, I hope that helps you there, Crisis. And hopefully you are no longer in crisis. Okay. Harry Potter. I've been watching my videos for a couple of years, and I really appreciate all your information. On January 1st, I had surgery on my ankle. All right, well, hopefully that surgery goes well there, Harry Potter. Madame Comfrey in Harry Potter was the healer of the broken arm, and Comfrey is known also as knit bone, and knit bone is actually supposed to be really good for healing bones. You can make a comfrey infusion, but the problem is that comfrey can be poisonous if you get the wrong strain. But on this fun fact, comfrey is actually the actual herb known as knit bone that actually helps heal bones and tendons. Okay, so you're now in a cast on some intense pain pills. I feel like I can't do anything. I'm useless. I don't have family or help, and I want your opinion on what I should do or how to think mentally to get over this state. What state are you talking about? I mean, you're in the recovery state, so there's nothing wrong with being in recovery. I mean, you got to recover, but make sure those freaking pain pills they put you on aren't Percocets or Oxycontins or something like that, because that stuff's highly addictive. And I would try your best to not be on that stuff. I'll tell you that right now. So if they're giving you that shit, you basically do whatever you can to get off of it, because it is not a good life. So don't be careful with pain pills. That's all I can say. Okay, I'm just gonna put some people in timeout here. It's amazing how much work people put into spamming. That's crazy. That's amazing. If they put that kind of work into a full-time job, they'd be billionaires. It's nuts. Yeah, Metal Man, if I find Bigfoot, my channel will grow 100,000 times. Yeah, sure. I think it will. And you know what? Every time I go out there, I've got my camera with me or my GoPro or something, and I'm looking for signs. Yeah, looking for signs. Okay, Francis Drake, why are there two types of benches to do dumbbell shoulder press? One only goes to the middle of the back and the other covers the whole body. That's an interesting question. Maybe just for different positioning, really. And some people are shorter, some people are longer in the torso, I guess. But I like it when I can lean into it, because naturally I find the chest up is the best shoulder girdle position for the shoulder press. If I'm doing it like this and do a shoulder press, I find it's a very awkward position, and it doesn't work well for me. I find it puts my shoulder in a weird position. It doesn't work, doesn't feel right. Christopher Lenz, would you ever consider TRT? What about when you're in your 70s? Christopher, no, I won't consider TRT, because the thing is that I'm not, if somebody wants to make certain decisions in their life, a lot of times people get butthurt about anything I say, because they're like, well, why wouldn't you do this? Why wouldn't you do that? That means you automatically hate the people that are doing it. No, I don't hate anybody that's doing it. I mean, if they want to do that, I would say, okay, fine. I mean, but there are positives and negatives whenever you start medicating a system, okay? We know this. The things that doctors said were good for you 10 years ago, then it turns out they kill you in another way, or a more creative way. It's like just creative ways to die, right? So when people are doing replacement therapies of certain hormones, if you're not getting to the root cause of why the hormones are there, and sometimes, yes, the root cause can be just age. But what if it's just time with not enough minerals? What if it's just your diet or your toxicity in their body is too high, and then all you're doing is masking it with something that's not necessarily getting to the root cause of why you have an issue with your hormones. So I am more from a mystical background. I mean, I have read books and experienced different things that most people would, well, they'd freak out if they had the experiences that I had. And I can't even explain them because you just come across as crazy. But the bottom line is that there are people who have mastered the elements of the body in a different way. And they have found ways to energetically work with the body. You know, that some people talk about the Wim Hof method. It's a simple sort of way that people overcome the, you know, the aversion to cold and stuff. So there are ways to work with the system instead of just putting some drug in it or some hormone that is not necessarily created by your own body. This can upset a delicate balance. Balance is key. And when you start throwing things in there, that's not necessarily balance. So yeah, I would never do testosterone replacement therapy. No, I'm not going to do it. I will not do it. I don't need to do it. I'm freaking awesome already. Why do I need to do testosterone replacement therapy? It's like everybody's always coming in. Like I was bitching at my friend the other day because he's not really my friend, but he used to be a friend. Okay, he's kind of an acquaintance now, but you do something, you know, and you guys probably have a friend like this, but no matter what you create or what you do, they have a criticism of it, right? So say you build your biceps up or something, like, oh yeah, but your biceps should be like this. Or maybe you should do that. Oh, you get your hair cut. No, it's okay, but this is what you should do. Or this, oh, you get a new jacket. Yeah, I like the jacket, but this is, there's always a criticism. There's always a way of improving. This is a lack of gratitude issue. This is a lack of gratitude issue, and a lack of gratitude is a lack of an open heart, a lack of receptivity. And if you are not able to receive, it only makes sense that you're not able to receive nourishment in the physical body. So there are links between the way you think and your emotional stuff and your body, and mastery of this is foremost. But so many people want to avoid all of this and then just medicate and say, okay, good, I fixed a symptom with a drug. That's the typical medical system way of looking at things, and it's not necessarily the best way for a holistic life, although sometimes it can be necessary during a life and death circumstance. So it's not like I'm against antibiotics or things like that when they are needed, but at the same time, it's a last resort scenario. It's not the first thing that a person should go to. Metal Man, do you or have you ever lifted with women? No puns. Yeah, no, I used to train women all the time. I trained my mom. I trained lots of people. Yeah, a lot of women. And some of them were pretty impressive. Actually, they're in pretty good shape. So, yeah. Yeah, Kung Fu Kickboxer, for years you suffered with low energy, turned out to be celiac disease. No TRT would help that. Exactly. I mean, the thing is you want to get to the underlying issues in the body. That's what natural bodybuilding is about. I'm not saying I'm against people that are doing whatever they're doing. I mean, whatever, like I understand life is freaking tough. And sometimes it throws some curveballs at you, and different people have different curveballs thrown at them. But I find this addiction to having to look a certain way and meet this expectation in your head, that's actually the sickness. It isn't this you training. A lot of times guys are like, oh, I have low energy. Well, okay, is your diet perfect? Is your sleep perfect? Is your stress level perfect? If you can answer all these questions, say everything is perfect and your nutrition is perfect, really, like you did nutrition tests and you found out where your minerals are at and everything was perfect. It's just that your hormones are just magically out of whack somehow. I don't know. I just think a lot of people are just trying to take the easy way, and it's not always the best answer, right? Greetings from Petit. I don't know where Petit is, but okay, greetings. Do you believe that Bigfoot actually exists? Ever had any strange experiences? Well, where I film, and actually my video I'm putting up tomorrow, I actually filmed in this location, so guys, check it out if you want. But there's a place where I do a lot of my meditation videos on this path, and I always put my chair in this one area, and I was filming there for about 4 or 5 weeks in a row, and this is where this guy I know had a Bigfoot encounter where he was only about 20 feet away from the Bigfoot, and it chased him and his wife and his son at the time out of the woods. And I have the whole thing in my Bigfoot playlist here on this channel, so check that out. There's a 3-part playlist where I investigated that area as well. And he said there's no way it was a bear. He said there's no way it was anything. It had long hair, not fur, and it was gray and silver. And it was like an ape or something like that, but it was massive. So even when he talked about it, he was freaked out. You can even see in the video that I posted on here, that he was really nervous the entire time and just messed up. It was like almost like a post-traumatic stress response. So I don't believe the guy's a liar. He seemed to be very legitimate, and there was nothing in it for him to lie about it except for getting ridiculed. He never got any money or any compensation for it. There was no benefit whatsoever. And he's not the only person I've met in this area who have had some sort of strange encounters that they can't explain. So I do believe that there's a very strong possibility that Bigfoot exists and Sasquatch exists, or some type of hybrid, because most of the forest, if you walk through the forest, you'll notice that you can't even walk through the bushes without falling into some sort of trap or deadfall or something. It's very tough to navigate up a hill. And these are the places where the logging company cuts down the trees. You see where a lot of times I film, a lot of the logging trucks have made these roads and stuff, and tractors and things, and all the trees are felled and stuff. You try to walk through some of that debris, I'm telling you, it's like an ankle snapping just waiting to happen. So to realize the truth of that is also to realize that there's so much of the outdoors that have not been even explored on foot by man, because you just can't get there. It's not like there's a nice little trail to walk through. It's like there's nothing but deadfall, logs, trees, cliffs, steep hills and embankments, all this stuff going on. So yeah, I believe it's definitely possible. And I talked to another guy that was camping on the other side of the lake, and he talked about how this woman had this experience seeing this ape face in the bathroom in the outhouse. And she screamed and ran from there. And then he went up to that same location and camped. And then in the middle of the night, he felt the ground shake. And all of a sudden this thing run through his campsite. And he didn't know what it was. And it didn't smell like bear or anything, but it smelled like human feces, which was the same smell he smelled when that woman got antagonized by the Bigfoot or whatever it was when they were up there before. So he said he never saw it, but he said that it was kind of weird that same smell. And he was a game hunter. He had hunted before and stuff, was well aware of the different smells of animals, and they usually don't smell like human feces, right? So yeah. So yeah, I believe there's definitely a strong possibility. Yeah. Okay, so you're on some sort of morphone there, Harry Potter, some sort of painkiller called hydromorphone or morphine, maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't be going to the gym right now in your first phase. If you just had the surgery, I would just take a week or two off, just heal up and just relax. Don't worry about it. You don't have to be king of the world all day, every day. You know what I mean? Like just let yourself heal and then start working back into it. You'll get all your gains back. You don't have to worry about losing gains just from taking a month off or something like that. There have been times where humankind, they didn't work out. I mean, there were times of rest. This constant whip that's driving you, it's good to take breaks from that. I've had times where I had to take 6 weeks off training because of dislocated shoulder or whatever, and it's totally fine. You're going to get back so fast, it's going to be like you'll forget that you even had a surgery, to tell you the truth. But yeah, just be careful with any of the painkillers. If I were you, I'd avoid as much of that as you can. Lewis Daniel, how can I get rid of stubborn body fat? I've been doing keto fasting, but I can't lose chest stomach fat. Should I be fasting more? Well, just because you're doing keto doesn't mean you're actually doing a proper diet. There's a lot of people, and there's one woman that might be tuning into this right now that I've talked to before, and she was doing a keto type of diet, like fats and protein, and she was just eating unlimited fat, just assuming that, hey, whatever, I can just throw the fat down, because keto just markets this one-size-fits-all appetite thing for people, and a lot of times people misinterpret the whole thing. The bottom line is you have to lower down that energy food. You have to lower down that fat food too. You can't just eat as much fat as you want and think that you're not going to stay fat. My brother even did this. Because he notices that he responds better to protein and fats a lot of times as far as having a stable blood sugar throughout the day, and that's great. But he was eating fats, he was eating fatty meats, he was eating some extra butter here and there and whatever, and what was happening, he was not losing any body fat. None. He was just staying at the same body fat level, and he's like, geez, it's weird, I'm just not losing any body fat. Meanwhile, he's having a bunch of fat, like peanut butter or whatever, or almond butter, whatever it was, no sugar stuff. And I'm saying, you can't just do that. You will not lose body fat if you're taking in a ton of energy calories. And people underestimate how much energy calories you can get in fat. It's 9 calories per gram in fat. And you can get 1,000 calories like that in one day, no problem, from fats. especially when you're low carb and you're always craving carbs, and then you're just shoving the fat in to get rid of that craving. Yeah, you're not going to lose nothing. So yeah, trust me on this. You're going to have to lower down the calories through the fats as well. Okay. Okay, Robin Huckenhall. Jason, do you have any advice for a guy in the military trying to lose weight? I have to eat the food that is provided, so can eat the bodybuilding staples food-wise. Well, what do you mean you have to eat the food that's provided? So food on your plate, you have to eat all of it, otherwise you're in trouble? Is that what happens? Or are they just providing certain foods for you? So if they're just providing certain foods, just eat the protein, throw the carbs away and the fats for a couple of meals of the day or one meal a day, and then guess what? You're automatically eating less energy food, and you'll naturally start to lose weight from that. Now, would it be ideal to replace that with protein and green vegetables? Yes, it would, but maybe you want to trade with your buddies. Maybe somebody you know doesn't want the protein off their plate, and then you could take that. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. So I would just lower down the energy calories. And you don't have to do it too extreme, just one meal a day, and just do that for a couple weeks and see what happens. And I bet you'll notice that there's going to be some fat loss from that. Christopher Lenz, if glycogen is my energy source and I run on an empty stomach, do I risk burning muscle or will I burn fat? You'll burn both, depending on how intense the running is there, Christopher, and also how high a body fat level you have. So the thing is, if you're doing a 20-minute run or whatever, you should be fine because you're eating right after. But yeah, if you're doing too intense too often, you're going to notice possibly some muscle loss. But just watch what happens to your body. This is really what you want to do. Just watch what happens with your body. And if you start noticing that you're losing a lot of strength, losing a lot of pump, losing all this kind of stuff in the gym, then you know that you've answered your own question. So then you need to back off on the intensity of the run, maybe do a little bit longer distance and back off the intensity. So a higher percentage of fat is being burned for calories and not so much carbs and glycogen. So that's how you can play with the intensity of your cardio. Which works. Thank you for mentioning fat calories. You won't believe how many people are oblivious to the amount of calories you can eat in fat and not notice. Yeah, no, it's crazy. Like the reason why a lot of these trendy diets take off is because usually the people that want a diet or need a diet are craving food all the time. So then they cater to this cravings, just like that idiot that was on doing the thing, and he's like stuffing his mouth full of sushi. He's like, oh yeah, it's easy getting lean, and he's just doing this, and he's like eating like a pig or whatever, and just chomping down because he's trying to basically invoke that desire in the people that have trouble with eating. And then they're thinking, oh, wow, I can eat anything I want and then still lose body fat. Well, guess what? This is what people want. They want to be told what they want to hear. They don't want to be told the truth. So you market something like that, you create a desire. They're like, oh, yeah, I'll buy your program because this is the one program where I can eat whatever I want and I'll still get lean. And boom, he's got your money. Now you've got a program that doesn't work, and therefore everybody wins except for you, you know? So the fact is that keto diet's popular because people like to eat a lot of fat, and you show them lots of nice fats and all this stuff. And oh yeah, you can eat that bacon, grease, everything like that. But the truth is that you'll lose a little bit. You'll lose a little bit of weight. But if you're one of these really slow metabolism type people, and maybe it's not just carb sensitivity that's got you to that high body weight level, but it's a slow metabolism, and maybe you just have too much calories in your diet, too much fat grams or carb grams. Cutting the carbs down, that will help for sure. But at some point, you may have to make the decision to cut down those fat calories too. You just can't just have unlimited fat. Because a lot of times what people do, they'll lower the carbs down, thinking, okay, my blood sugar is not so up and down, so that's good. Okay, stable blood sugar does help with fat loss. But that's only one factor. But if your fat is now up twice as much because now their carbs are down, now you've just basically undone the whole benefit of having the stable blood sugar, and now you're going to have body fat that's not getting burned off. Will carbs make the muscles feel fuller compared to fats? Yes, they will, especially the glycogen-dominant muscles like quadriceps and things. Yeah. And Sean H., that's a very valid point, and I've mentioned this too before, not on this channel, but I mentioned it to people. Water weight loss makes people think keto and Atkins diets are working, because eventually what happens at first when you drop carbs, carbohydrate. You drop immediately 5 pounds of water, and the people are like, oh, look, I dropped 5 pounds. It's like, yeah, you took a piss. That's really what happened. But it doesn't mean you dropped body fat weight. So this is the other thing. If I have somebody in front of me and they're having trouble losing weight and they have to listen and I could just crack a whip every time they do something wrong, I guarantee you they'll freaking lose weight. 100%. It's just a matter of the pain of the urge for the food. There needs to be another pain that helps break that in them. You know what I mean? Like I've been doing it with my cats, right? Like basically, if you have a craving for food, you need to have an intense desire. It boils down to this intention thing before. You have to have the desire first and foremost to basically meet this, let this desire be there, the pain of that desire, because it's really pain, right? It feels like shit when you desire something so badly. You're like, oh my God, the food is, the instincts of the body are fighting. They want that food so bad. And then you have to replace it with something positive, like a chicken breast or a piece of broccoli or whatever. You have to replace that. And then from there, you can make changes. But if you're just trying to find the easy way, it's a no-win situation. It'll never happen. Gerillo, I saw a friend of mine eat 10,000 calories a day, and he wasn't a vegan, okay? But he just had a fast metabolism. He didn't put on any body fat either. So it just depends on metabolism at that point. It isn't really an argument for veganism. What's my breakfast of choice? I don't really have breakfast a lot. I'll just have some chicken breast and rice or something like that. I don't mind oatmeal and some protein powder and egg whites or something like that, like some of those things, but I don't usually eat breakfast that much. Honestly, I'll usually have a chicken breast or a piece of sausage or protein. I just chew that down and then have lunch later or something like that. That's usually what I do. Yeah, Shakti shaker, yes. Why does my back sting every time I put my hand in a bag of chips? That's exactly, though, what people don't understand is that what you're doing is you're trying to overcome the primal instincts of the body. And the primal instincts do not understand logic. They understand pleasure and pain a lot of times. So this is why a lot of times we're trying to basically leverage pain of one to another. And when you're smart, you can bridge the gap. Like when I eat too much fat, I have to go to the hospital. And you know what I mean? Or I have to throw up in a bucket. Like this is what happened to me. When I go to the gym and I do squats, but then I eat lots of fats and pizzas and whatever it is I want, and I do that too often, then when I go to the gym do legs, I feel like puking, and I literally do. I puke in a bucket, and it's like, okay, I just feel like absolute garbage because of the shit that I ate. So I bridge the gap between those two things. Bag of chips, puke, same thing. I don't really like puking much, so that's how I basically increase the discipline. You have to be smart enough to create these strategies in yourself. You have to just connect them, and then that will help you be able to motivate yourself towards your goal. You just started the not your bike with the basket diet there, Jim. Bag of donuts. Yeah, that's good. Oh, that's funny. Harry Potter, he's responding to Jim at Bag of Notes. I'm basically going into hibernation mode to recover over these winter months and pray that I don't have any long-term pain or need for medication. Yeah, Harry Potter, just don't worry about it. I mean, the message, like the way you can create a lot of suffering in yourself is to overthink decisions that were already made. It's like, oh, what if I'm born to this world? Oh shit, what if my life doesn't work out? It's like, you know what, you're already born. There's not really much point in discussing and ruminating and philosophizing over the positives and negatives of your birth, okay? So it's the same thing. You just did the surgery. You don't have any choice now except for to accept the pluses and the negatives of it, the pluses and the minuses, right? The positives and negatives. I was trying to combine those two things together, thinking I was somehow an innovator in language. But the bottom line is that you have no choice but to accept this. So accept it, move forward like a soldier. Stop crying about it. Just do what you need to do in one moment at a time, okay? Just micromanage it into one day at a time. This is what you need to do. You need to get the soldier side of you into this. Otherwise, your emotional nature is going to go out of hand and you're going to be all upset and depressed and use everything as an excuse to suffer. You don't need to do this. You don't need to do this. There are people in this world who have overcome larger obstacles than ankle surgery, right? And what you need to do now is become malleable in the mind. You need to become flexible. This is a gift for you. And then when you get back in the gym, you're going to find some exercises are going to work for you. Some exercises maybe not work the same way for you. And you're going to have to be flexible enough and open enough to be with that and make decisions accordingly, rather than grieving constantly what you were doing before and what you should be able to do now. Okay, so do this. Don't worry, you will have success again. It will just be a different way of achieving the same goal. You can climb a building from any wall. You don't have to climb the front wall. You can climb the side wall or the back wall. It doesn't always have to be the front. So don't worry about what you can't do. Realize there's going to be some new things you can do, and you just embrace that. What do you think about carb cycling? I think carb cycling is valid because sometimes it helps you keep more pump in the muscle. Like when I was getting ready for a contest, and this is the only really experience I have in carb cycling, I do higher carb days on Wednesday and Thursday because it helped keep that metabolism high in theory. But I always found that I looked better on the Saturday after I carbed up on Wednesday or Thursday. It was actually Tuesday and Wednesday I really carbed up, and then I would cut back on the carbs. By the time Friday was there, my carbs would be a little bit lower, and then on Saturday I'd look great. Now, the reason why you carb cycle is because you're trying to find a way that your physique looks the best, and you're trying to constantly peak for Saturday for competition. So obviously, when you go low carb for too long, your muscles flatten out. They have less muscular quality. They don't look as good. So carbs play a massive role in how they look, and also in performance in the gym. So ideally on stage, you want your muscles to be pumped and lean, and carb cycling is a way that people achieve this. It doesn't mean that it necessarily has the metabolism effects. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. They say it does, or all I've read about it is it helps trick the metabolism into staying fast, and then you lower the calories and it dips into the fat stores, going back and forth. But mainly that's why I carb cycled when I was getting ready for contests. Cal Morius. Hey, Jason, can I move into that house on top of the freezer? I'll pay rent sometimes. Yeah, that's one of the cat houses, right? There's 2 cats, and we keep them in the garage at night because it's heated in here. And otherwise, they wake us up and try to get us to feed them because I'm breaking the habit of feeding with them. And so we have them in here at night because they're driving us nuts trying to get outside at 5 o'clock in the morning, all this kind of stuff. So yeah, this is they come in here and hang out until I wake up. So how you doing there, Leslie? Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's just harder to convert carbs into fats and fats into fats. Vegans are usually pretty fat and protein deficient. Yeah, a lot of times they do have if you look at the cultures that embrace veganism, there is more of a tendency for the soft body look. It's definitely what I've noticed. Nothing against vegans, whatever, but I'm just saying it's not necessarily as, I don't think it's as effective for establishing that lean, muscular look for sure. Okay, I'm just going through the comments here. InfoRip, how many hours of cardio did you do in your competition days? Did you prefer less or HIIT cardio? HIIT cardio is high intensity cardio. I didn't really believe in high intensity cardio either because again, you're tapping into those glycogen stores. And as far as hours of cardio, I found that I just used my energy mostly for training, like weight training. I would use it more for getting extra sets or something like that in my workout rather than doing cardio. Now, I'm not saying that people that do cardio, they didn't show up lean. Like, maybe I would have been leaner if I did more cardio, like a low intensity, but an extra hour or so a day, maybe it would have worked. I don't know. But you also have to do what motivates you and what feels right to you at the time. And what felt right to me at the time was to use that time for energy or that energy for training time, right? So that's how I did it. But do I think about, hey, if I did more cardio, maybe I would have been leaner on stage at some points? So yeah, sometimes I think that there's a possibility. I think maybe if I did an extra hour cardio a day, maybe it would have worked, right? Does cardio matter if fat loss depends on caloric deficit? Okay, so again, this is an oversimplification of the body. Just because you have a caloric deficit doesn't mean that the body equally eats the fat and muscle, right? A caloric deficit can be many things depending on what type of caloric deficit. Is it a carbohydrate caloric deficit, Or is it the protein caloric deficit? Where are the calories coming from? All right, that's one thing. People don't even think about that. A lot of times they think, oh, just calories, calories. The calorie is not a calorie. If you have 2,000 calories of protein or 2,000 calories of fats a day, your body will look totally different. A totally different adaptation. So this proves that there is something different going on with the calorie. The calorie is just one variable in a bunch of other variables. Now, the other thing is that when I have a calorie deficit, if I'm doing cardio, I can afford to eat more food. Now, if I'm eating more food and more protein, and then the calories that I'm burning through the cardio is a higher percentage of fats as opposed to carbs and proteins, then there's a very strong possibility that I will be bigger, more muscle, and less fat because of the percentages of what is being burned and what is really the source of the deficit. You know what I'm saying? So that's why there's definitely something to looking at all the variables, not just that one. What about going high protein, high carbohydrate, low fat? Yeah, you can do that, Nicholas. That's what I did for my first few shows. And then basically I had to start, as my metabolism started to change and sensitivity to certain carbs would come up, I needed to change my types of carbs. Sometimes I have to go to yams or potatoes more, or a little bit of berries and stuff, and I have to cut the carbs down to medium. But yeah, some people, if they have a super fast metabolism, all they have to do is just cut the fat down, boom, and they're lean for contest. Do you think if you started competing again, it would raise your online profile? It might raise my online profile, but I don't think it would that much because the people that I'd be competing with are the true naturals and the WNBF and stuff. And really those shows get absolutely no coverage whatsoever. Like there's barely anybody that even watches them. So yeah, most of the guys that get a lot of press and stuff are in the only urine tested type natural shows and stuff like that. So yeah, anyway, I don't think it would make a much difference. It might make some difference. I'm sure it would add some sort of passion to the channel in some way, shape, or form. But I got to use my energy in a lot of different areas, and stage type stuff doesn't seem like the right way to use it right now. Yeah. Joe Smith, this is kind of a long question, but what's our opinion on in a study saying that drinking raw egg whites only leads to about 50% of protein digestion and use? What are your thoughts? Raw egg whites compared to cooked egg whites with protein digestion? Yeah, I've heard that too. I've heard that, yeah, cooked eggs are better and stuff like that. But in the end, it's about which one allows you to get the egg down, and if just the inconvenience of cooking and everything is keeping you from eating, then maybe you got to think about raw, right? So. But yeah, it's probably true. I don't know. I mean, it may be different for each person, maybe. I don't know how intensive the study is made or what, but I know my brother has talked about that egg whites or raw eggs sometimes can lead to some sort of mineral deficiency or something. I don't know exactly which, but, or maybe it was a vitamin B. I don't know. It was something he was saying that there was some sort of deficiency that's associated with drinking raw eggs. Maybe I'll find out what it is. Voice of reason, do you think it matters when cardio is done, for example, fast in the morning over during the day? Again, these are questions that it's really hard for me to measure because I've never measured really strictly. Mainly when I was competing, I would think about what allowed me to focus and do what I needed to do. And sometimes getting up and doing cardio right away, if I was going to do cardio for a contest, was the only way I would get it done. Otherwise, I would not do the cardio and I would just be exhausted after my weight training workout. And I'm like, screw it, I'm not doing cardio, right? And just going home. So doing it first thing in the morning was the only way I could do it. It was the first thing. Now I talk about this. I talked about it in a video before. You have to do whatever you are the least motivated for first thing right away. As soon as you get up, that's what you got to do. That's the first thing you use your energy for. And that way you can stick to it. That's a good way to sticking to goals, right? The thing you have the hardest time sticking to, that's what you got to do right away. Then everything else can fall into place. And weight training, I didn't have a hard time getting motivated for, but the cardio I did. So that's why I did it that way. But do I have what percentage would have been more effective or not? I don't. I really don't. I really don't know for sure. Although, yeah, it's possible that it burns more body fat, but I don't know. Girillo, do you remember Ziz? Well, I mean, this is a drug-free bodybuilding channel, so I can't say I have a lot of respect for the lifestyle choices, that's for sure. How can one avoid waking up in the middle of the night due to caloric deficit, even though you're eating before bed? Well, I don't know how to help you there either, man. I don't know. Yeah. Ever taken ZMA to help with sleep recovery? I seem to dream more, like I'm in a deeper sleep. I've taken zinc. Zinc and magnesium is great. I mean, zinc. I've taken zinc and magnesium. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely something I take from time to time. Yeah. I don't notice my dreams are different or anything, but I just find that I need to make sure I get minerals in and stuff because I'm not eating a really balanced diet sometimes. Joe Smith, do you think that the longer you are on a diet with raw egg whites, the better your gut flora could adapt and allow for better digestion? That's possible. It's possible. It's amazing what the body can adapt to when you do it for long enough. I'm not saying that everybody's gonna. It's not good to poison yourself by any means. Like, don't be drinking salmonella eggs or whatever. Like, make sure it's from the right source and make sure the shell is clean or whatever. I knew a guy in the gym that used to eat raw chicken. I'm like, man, that's just disaster waiting to happen, with salmonella and stuff. But he actually somehow never got sick from it. So I don't know how he did that, but yeah, maybe that's a testament to what you're saying. Yeah, Christopher Litz, I don't take melatonin. I know you're mentioning this to the other guy, but it's also a precursor that's banned in natural bodybuilding too. So yeah, I don't take melatonin or any of that stuff. Not that I need it. I've never had trouble sleeping, to tell you the truth. But how long does gaining 20 pounds of muscle take in your experience? Well, it depends on how heavy you are. If you're 7 feet tall, 20 pounds has a lot more space to go, and it's easier for a person that's 7 feet tall to put on 20 pounds of muscle. Now, it won't look that big when they put on 20 pounds, but it's going to be a whole lot easier for them to put on 20 pounds. Second of all, how long does it take for 20 pounds? Depending on where you're starting, depending on what your natural size is. If you started as a 160-pound guy when you try to put on 20 pounds as opposed to a 250-pound guy trying to put on 20 pounds of muscle, it's going to be different because, again, your frame is going to be different, all that stuff. But yeah, 20 pounds of muscle as a natural bodybuilder is going to at least take a couple of years if it's your first couple of years training, and that's when you get the newbie gains, right? But once you're, been training 3 or 4 years, 20 pounds of muscle takes, 5, 6 years sometimes to put on, if not longer. So yeah, it's different. We're talking about lean muscle mass here too. Joe Smith, when it comes to sickness, once you get sick from salmonella, you build antibodies for it as long as you're eating now raw. Joe Smith, I will disagree with you to a point though, because I'll share an experience with you. I got salmonella from eating Red Robin chicken breast and rice back in 1998, right before the Natural Olympia, which is what screwed my Natural Olympia title up. And what happened? I got so sick, like brutal, like it was coming on both ends for 24 hours. And years later, it was probably about 10 years later, I was in a sushi restaurant and the guy had some bad mayo. And again, I got food poisoning from that. So based on what you said right there, if it was salmonella, again, I shouldn't have got food poisoning, but I did. So yeah, I mean, maybe we're both right, but I'm going to say that it's not a get out of jail free card. Let's put it that way for salmonella. You'd have to keep building immunity to it. Well, yeah, maybe, but I don't know. I know the body can adapt to a lot of things, but I'm not saying maybe eventually it couldn't, but I don't know if I want to get sick that many times, honestly, just to prove your point there, Joe, because it's fucking painful. It's not a fun ride, I'll tell you that much. So, yeah. Jay Renee, do you think the study about raw eggs versus cooked is BS? Maybe even a conspiracy because they want us to be weak and sick? My name is pronounced Renee. Thanks, Jason. Renee, I'm open to any of those conspiracies. I'm open to all that. In the end, like I said, you have to find out what works for you. And I think that there's a lot more potential in the human body that than we know. And there's definitely an argument for somebody can convince you that you are sickly and that you can be sick and harmed and this disease is going to kill you, that you are a better customer for many different drug companies because you believe in the sickness and then they say, hey, look, I've got the cure. So yeah, there's definitely something to be said for that. Because the fact that the placebo effect exists, doesn't that confuse you guys? Doesn't that confuse people? Like, I don't understand. Like, people think, hey, there's no such thing as me having mind over matter power. There's no such thing as that. But yet the placebo effect exists, and they have to take that into account in every single scientific study, because there are people that when they believe they're taking a medicine, then they automatically get better from whatever affliction is bugging them. So that proves that we actually have power. We have power. The placebo proves it. But a lot of times the scientific community or people that are scientific minded say, oh, that's hokey bullshit you're saying. That doesn't exist. You're not. But then if the power of belief or the power of intent doesn't have any power, then why does the placebo effect exist, right? Why do you have to take that into account in a study? You're actually legitimizing it just by saying that. So yeah, there's definitely something to be saying that. When are you getting dreadlocks, boss? No, I'm never getting dreadlocks, my friend. Yeah. Yeah, Magical Bum. Now I know why you're called Magical Bum, because you said you used to use raw eggs for your protein shake, but you got food poisoning. It turns out that even if they sterilize the outside of the egg, chicken's exposed to salmonella can pass into the egg. Yeah, no, I believe you there. I've been drinking raw eggs and it doesn't cause any problem with me, but I'm sure that maybe I'm lucky or maybe it can happen too. So again, but now your bum is magical, so you don't have to worry about food poisoning. So there you go, Magical Bum. You're fine now. Hey, Jason, do you allocate yourself time to practice meditation mindfulness daily, or do you consider bodybuilding a form of meditation in itself? Also, can you levitate? No, I can't levitate. Okay, David Lang, what I will say is that I do allocate my time to do something different. In meditation, there's different forms of meditation depending on what level you're at, and most people think psychological peace is meditation. And the bodybuilding, some people say, oh, like I've had a guy talk to me about in the gym and he's like, oh, bodybuilding's my meditation. Bodybuilding is not necessarily meditation, although I've used that word before. It's not really a meditation because it's more about a relationship of being with physicality. But meditation itself is letting go all of experiences of the five senses. And how can meditation be bodybuilding if bodybuilding is strongly dependent on your five senses, the touch and the feel and the firing of the muscles and all the physicality. So it can be a movement of your meditation space into physicality, but not necessarily meditation itself. A lot of people talk about meditation, but what they're talking about is peace. And they're talking about here to a point, but not the letting go of who is here. The perceiver, him or herself. And this is meditation. Meditation is an absolute exit out of all of this. The highest advanced rishis exited out of all of reality altogether, where there was not even them. They didn't even exist anymore. And therefore, something else took the old ego's place, right? Which is the greater I, they say. So meditation is something different. Meditation is the letting go of all stimulus, all information, all ideas, all philosophies, everything. Just being so totally 100% here with absolutely no projection of what should be or shouldn't be. And that is the practice of meditation, is getting stronger in that. And that is where clarity comes from, because then when you don't have this middleman getting in the way of what is perceived, when you start to move outwards into the world, then true perception is possible. And wisdom becomes possible at that point. So yeah, to answer your question in a long form, like I just did, yes, I do meditate and do different types of practices every day. Yeah. Mullins Mania, your thoughts on acupuncture? Great. Yeah, I'm doing some acupuncture right now, actually, just to free up some meridians and to ground some energy into the body here. Yeah. Do you squat with toes straight or turned out a bit? Francis, it depends on the person. Depends on how your hips are built. So what's most comfortable for you is going to be the best. But if your knees are pointed or your feet are pointed out, but you notice your knees cave in, then turn the feet in a little bit and see if that helps. Also, you can, sorry, I'm burping here, excuse me. But also what you can do is push the knees out a little bit with your glute medius, right? That's why sometimes you see people put bands around the knees to keep the knees from caving in. But if your knees are caving in no matter what you do, even when you try to concentrate on pushing them out, you can compensate a bit by pointing those toes forward and see if that helps. If that doesn't help, then yeah, you definitely need to do some glute medius work, I guess, or some glute maximus work. But ultimately, it's about really what's comfortable and what keeps that stress on the legs and not necessarily harming your joints. Now, the other thing is you'll notice that when your knees are out a little bit or your feet are out a little bit, you'll notice that it'll be easier on your lower back when you squat. You won't necessarily have to use as much lower back as when your feet are pointed forward. So there's a couple things to consider. Neither one is wrong. It's more about what is right for your body type and your situation. Joe Smith, on the subject of live stream, is the reason you don't live stream on your other channel because it is not popular, which leads back to being sustainable? No, Joe. Joe, it's different. Let me see, how do I answer this? I'm talking about a lot of superficial stuff here on the Natural Bodybuilding channel. I do have consultations available for natural bodybuilding. If people want to just do a consultation with me, talk back and forth through Skype or through Facebook Live, we can do a chat like that. They pay me for a session, we'll do that. My other business or my other YouTube channel, yes, I do that as well. But the nature of suffering in human beings is a more complicated subject. And I find that sometimes communication with a physical person directly gets in the way of somebody really chewing on what I've said instead of defending. If I just make a video and then they just really say, okay, what can I take from this with no invested interest to Jason? Like Jason's not getting anything out of what I'm saying or what he's saying. There's nothing in it for him for me to believe what he's saying or not. It's just me with my suffering and is he right about this or not? And can I use that wisdom in order to free myself, right? They can truly chew on that knowledge and that wisdom. And sometimes if you're in a live chat, what happens is that then the personal relationship sometimes gets in the way of that. And when you're dealing with people's egos, it can become pretty complicated. And sometimes the defense mechanisms come up so strongly that, especially if they don't have to pay or get through a doorway or prove that they want to receive what I have to give, sometimes you get a lot of trolling and a lot of backlash and negativity and defense mechanisms and stuff like that too. So it's not necessarily the most efficient way to use my energy. The best way is for me to help, but then say, okay, now I'm going to remove myself from your little process here and then let you chew on what I've just said and see where it pertains to you. That way it's not intimidating. There's no Jason getting in the way, no Jason trying to use, suppress, hold power over, that kind of stuff. And so I find it helps a person's process more so. But then sometimes it does lead to a personal relationship where people do sessions with me or they'll actually have an in-person conversation about something that's more basically a part of their process. But at that point, they understand that I'm trying to help them, not trying to somehow get something out of convincing them of some way that they're suffering and maybe that helps me have some sort of power or something. Again, I'm not sure if I explained it right, but you have to find the right system to help a person with a certain problem. And sometimes one tool might be great for the job. Like say doing this live stream, these videos, it's great for the bodybuilding thing. But when it comes down to people's individual suffering, there's a whole other type of audience and crowd that's there. Some of the people are true seekers of truth. And then there are other people that are intense, fanatical thinkers too, like we get on this channel, but also in different types of religions and whatever. And then they have their own agenda and stuff too. And then I have to deal with that. And when I'm opening myself up to truly help somebody in that moment, and then I've got to deal with an onslaught of negativity too, it's a little bit more of a juggling thing that it just is too much work and not necessarily the most efficient way to use my energy. Right? Yeah. Well, thanks, Warrior Statue. Thanks for the super chat. Thanks. Joe Smith, no, I don't live stream the spirituality channel. I don't do that. It's not that I haven't. It is I haven't tried because I just know. I do work with groups. I've worked with facilitating meditations and things and dealt with people in person, and I have done this. But there's something else mystical that goes on that I won't really get into here. But it's the nature of the work that I do, and it's just, again, I have to also make sure that I survive the process as well. So that's why I also don't do that. So I work with people who wish to work with me, who are serious about it. But like I found with a lot of people, if they're not willing to trade something of their own ego, then how are they going to let go of their entire ego? I mean, they're not even willing to let go of a belief system. If you're not willing to trade one small thing for the highest wisdom, then you're definitely not going to let go of your core belief systems, which are causing you so much suffering. So there is a reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. But he or she who is willing to trade nothing for something values that something very little. That's all I can say, you know. And this is why I get so much abuse on this YouTube channel too, because a lot of the people that come here, they just say, hey, who's this long-haired idiot sharing some sort of knowledge, not realizing that it's a 30-year sort of study that I've conducted with my brother and trained and achieved a very high level of natural bodybuilding, and I'm giving it for free. And they say, oh, because it's free, it must be worthless, and they treat you like garbage accordingly, right? So there are different realities based on what you're doing. And the stuff that I do on the spiritual channel is just worth way too much for me to just give away to people who will just cast it aside. So yeah, I have to do what I need to do in order to deal with various levels of illusion or various egos. And there are a lot of different types of egos on this planet, and not all of them are dominated by the same value system you may have. So Tony Addington, Jason, as a natural, do you still put on size after all the years you have trained, or are you pretty much maintaining what you have? I'm pretty much maintaining, but I have put on size on my back, actually, the last 2 years. I noticed that. And so there is times when my training is going really well and I'm really serious about it. And yeah, I do put on some size here and there. Yeah. Hey, Green Machine saying there's 2 species of salmonella which can divide into 6 subspecies that can have over 2,000 different characteristics. I highly doubt you can build the immunity. Well, Green Machine, I'm going to ask you to prove it. So I want you to start drinking some raw eggs tomorrow and every day and see what happens. No, just kidding. Everything's theory. But I've seen some pretty messed up stuff where you think people couldn't adapt to it and they did. So I'm open to both arguments, honestly. The voice of reason, how do you set up a one-on-one session for what? For the workout channel or for the other one? What are my favorite machines to use in the gym? I like the Smith machine, Francis, because I like to do some leg movements on there, especially the one-legged squat. I do like the rowing machines, like the hammer strength rowing machines and stuff, because I can keep tension on there on the back without my lower back hitting failure. Because, you know, when you're doing bent over rows, it's inevitable that your lower back will hit failure to a point, and it plays a role in whether you continue the set or not. So that's why I've been really enjoying actually doing just the incline bench rows with dumbbells, light, but just going deep into failure, just totally hitting failure, and my lower back isn't as much of a factor. So although I love doing bent over rows with lower back movements, I do like to actually have that lower back supported from time to time so I can go deeper into failure with the major muscle groups. So I like that. I also love the tricep press down because you can turn around and do different angles. And I love the cables for that reason too. Like using cables is a really fun sort of thing for me. I do enjoy that. Yeah. Zorak 75. Well, I think people have issues with trust in general, and I don't blame them. Zorak, I don't blame them. I mean, that's why sometimes having information that's given freely, where there's no obligation on their part and there's nothing in it for the person giving it, for them to just take that information and see how it helps them in their life, is a very clean sort of relationship where there's nothing hoarded above them. There's nobody going to be, you know, sticking their hand in their pants or what, you know what I mean? Nothing like that. It's just like, hey, just take the information, boom, and that's it. And if you like it, great. And so for the people who have trust issues or have been severely injured or hurt in their life by somebody who has wielded power in a very corrupt way, it is a great way to help them, because it's the way that it would have worked for me too. Because I'm like, hey, you know, this asshole did this and that person did this, and like, what's in it for you? You know, like this is a smart way to think. I mean, I'm not saying that people are dumb to think this way, because a lot of times there are people that do things because they want to make it sustainable, like it's a business. And then there are people who create suffering in order to have a business. That's a different thing, you see? So there are also people who are mixed up about that concept. They think anybody that makes $1 from giving information for free, but maybe makes $1 from selling a t-shirt or something like that, oh, this person's corrupt because they're just trying to make that massive amount of dollars on their t-shirt sales, right? But what if that person is just saying, this is a way that I can keep on being able to help? That's a totally different thing. That's a totally different intent than somebody saying, I'm going to strip the t-shirts off your back and burn them so that way you're forced to buy my t-shirt. That's a different thing. So yeah, we've got a lot of confusion around that with people. Like they sometimes confuse, if you make money, then you're corrupt and whatever, all this kind of stuff. So I kind of step over that entire game just by giving a free video. Watch it. If you like it, if it helps you, great. If it doesn't, then no big deal. Nobody gets hurt. Nobody gets injured. Done. Just to receive that, right? And then people who want to go deeper into what it is I have to say and deeper into what I'm teaching, then they can choose to come to me. But nobody's forcing them. Nobody's forcing them to have to do anything, you know, that kind of stuff. So it's kind of a very clean way of dealing with people. Yeah. The voice of reason. Would it be worthwhile to work smaller muscles like biceps every day for a period of time to bring them up? Or would it be overtraining? No, actually, I think it is a worthwhile concept there, voice of reason. And you are the voice of reason right now. Because if you watch my playlist on frequency training, you'll notice that I do train body parts very frequently that I want to bring up. I do this with chest a lot. First of all, I love training chest. It's like my favorite body part. That's why some people say, oh, you should train your chest. It's like, actually, I train my chest more than any other body parts. It's just that I have some rotator cuff sort of things and stuff that have caused different adaptations. But my chest is actually coming up quite a bit from the deep dumbbell presses and stuff, and I'm having a good time with it. So yeah, training a body part every day is good. Just make sure you keep those rep ranges changed up. Don't always do the same ones. And you may feel a little bit tight. Just make sure you warm up if you feel a little bit tight. But biceps do have a tendency to recover faster than most of the other muscle groups, for sure. Zorak 75, I know, true, but YouTube has a lot of snake oil salesmen, but you seem legit though, that's why. The problem is that Zorak, okay, this is gonna be another wisdom moment, okay? Let's talk about this. The problem is most people are willing to buy personality rather than truth, okay? Most people will judge somebody because somebody says what they wanna hear constantly instead of being honest. And possibly not going with the status quo. So for instance, like somebody comes with a real charismatic personality and comes into your life and convinces you that they're your best friend, but then they steal from you. Those are the people that are worshipped the most on YouTube or anywhere in the society right now, rather than the person that might have had a fist fight here and there, or because this person's so bad because they actually had conflict. Guess what? The people who have actually had conflict are the people who are honest. Those are the people you should trust because they're not the ones that are just telling you lies based on what they think you want to hear. And that's the problem. That's where the priorities have gone downhill with society right now. That's why the whole snowflake left agenda types, you know, all this stuff. People are worshiping dishonesty. They're worshiping people who can act a better role than the next guy. And those are the people that are doing well because they have convinced everyone of their purity when they're not pure at all. I mean, they're not, you know, so... it's a long discussion, but what I'm going to say is that that's where the cons come in. People don't have respect for honesty because they think that there's no such thing as humanity. Like a human being that is pure should not have emotions. They think this person should be a robot, like some sort of Google sort of robot of some sort, and just respond neutrally to everything. It's like, no, in life, emotions are actually a very powerful ally. Anger can sometimes protect you in a place of danger. It doesn't have to be something that's negative. It's a matter of how is the anger used. It's what is the intent behind it. It's not something to be feared, you know? So people fear intensity and they call it anger and then they call it evil because it must be the same thing. It's not, you know? Uncontrolled anger that just lashes out at your ally as much as your enemy, that would be a problem. But intensity is needed in life for certain things. So there's this confusion. There's this lack of wisdom in the general collective. And that's what's caused people to worship the snake oil salesman. That's what's caused them to worship the charismatic ones. They're not looking for truth. They're looking for someone who will meet their ideas and act the proper role. But what this person's doing in the background is totally different than what you expect. If you're only looking at people superficially, you are a perfect person to get conned, because you're not looking at where is everything coming from. Where's this person coming from when they're doing what they're doing, right? That's really what's important. And in order for you to be aware of that, you need to open your own heart in the process. And we've got a lot of people with closed hearts walking around, and they're trying to judge superficially like a robot of what's happening. So you can always be tricked with that. You know, I was only planning on doing 40 minutes tonight, and then look what happened again. Oh. Cy Kevin, how you doing, brother? Storm, nice, buddy. I've done squats for 30 days, not super high rep, just pyramid to heavy, then a couple working sets. Surprisingly, it helped to not have soreness. Yeah, if you're not going to failure, Sean, that could definitely work. And like I said, if you're holding back on the intensity, then yeah, definitely. It goes into alignment, that natural bodybuilding secret that I talked about. Just always doing a certain exercise, but not pushing it too much, so that way you can recover enough for the next day. That's a valid technique. I think it does definitely help your system in a certain way. Jordan, hey Jason, how did you learn to become so peaceful and calm? You have a lot of good info and advice on your channel. There's a peaceful and calm that's inside me there, Jordan, but at the same time, the ferocity comes out of me too when I get attacked, as you can see, like, because I understand the nature of reality, where if I just roll over and show my belly, then there's repercussion for that. And I use intensity that's very much like a storm. It's very much like, looks like anger and ferocity, but inside I'm in peace. You see what I'm saying? I'm so at peace with myself that I don't worry about judging myself if I have a reaction to something that is necessary in order to create a certain result. So that's why you'll see many aspects of my personality, because I'm just authentically honest. Honest is probably a better way to describe me than peaceful. But through absolute honesty, there is just this thing that moves through you that also carries the information of peace. It also carries that, you know? So yeah, but this is a better way of saying it. What comes through me isn't based on past events. It's based on right here, right now. That's it. And right here, right now is how I deal with things. And sometimes intensity moves through me, sometimes something else, but it's not based on some sort of past projection onto this moment. So this is really what a meditation practice does. This is what you do. And my other channel will help you with this kind of thing, because you're getting your mind out of the way, your previous roles that you play. When you're no longer playing a role, then you become honest. And when you're honest, at least then you can be practical about what causes a certain effect or not in your life, right? Jordan, you know, I understand. I mean, a lot of rage, holding grudges, but realize at some point, I mean, I'm not saying for you to go step into great friendships with whoever has abused you or done bad things. But what I am going to say is that in this moment, you can feel that torment, okay? And if there's torment inside you, you're suffering, just be there with it, and then slowly practice letting go of any idea you have around the source of why you're feeling that, okay? Disconnect the story from the feeling. That's the first step. Just let go of any feelings, any stories you have around it, any ideas, anything, and then feel the feeling, and then imagine just melting into it like it's just a flavor of something, almost like it's shredded cheese or something, right? Just imagine doing that. And just through this process, you'll notice that there will be a different experience that emerges within you as you do this. It's like melting ice. It just takes a bit of time, but just practice that. Let go of any of the ideas, because if the person who did abusing or harming or whatever they did, if they're not here in the room with you, then you're just making up a story now, because they're not here, right? There's no danger. There's no problem. So the problem isn't here. So there's no reason for you to react now. So at that point, you start to let go of these reactions that are basically echoes from past events. And then from there, if there is some time for you to take action, then you take action as it is needed in the moment, but you're not taking action based on something that's not happening right now, you see? So practice that. Practice this. And as you meditate, you're letting go of these extensions of I, of ego. And then from there, you're unraveling. And then from there, freedom is the result. Freedom comes. Yeah. The freedom that you always had. Yeah, Harry Potter, good luck with your rehabilitation, and you'll be fine, buddy. I mean, every one of us, almost every single person in this channel, even Leslie Jackson, I think, Leslie, were you the guy with the neck injury? I think you were. He had a massive neck injury, and I got an email from him. And anyway, he recovered and is working out and stuff, and had to go through hell. So you're going to be fine, man. It's like there's just these challenges that you go through in life, and you'll overcome it. It's just don't let your mind become an obstacle too. That's all I'm saying. You've already got the physical obstacle. Don't use your mind as an obstacle as well. Sean Stanford, do I have other channels? Yes, I have a meditation channel called Jason J. Gallant, where it's a different part of my personality, where I'm basically helping people with understanding the true nature of themselves and helping them wiggle free of their own, whatever illusion they may be carrying that's causing suffering. I teach different mantras that come from Buddhism, Hinduism. I teach shamanic stuff. Like it doesn't matter what it is. There's nothing religious on the channel. There's just freedom there. So yeah, if you want to check it out, check it out. Yeah. Yeah, Jordan, sometimes too, rage happens because you weren't honest about so many different moments, and then they all build up, and then it's just like fireworks. They just want to come bubbling out all at once. So just let the steam just come out little bit by little bit. When you're by yourself, just receive it, right? But just receive it, but realize it's a source of something itself that's independent from anything that's going on the outside. It's just intensity within you that's trying to become one with you, which is actually your power. Don't hate it. Don't reject it. Just be with it. It's actually your power coming back home, and don't worry about it. It doesn't mean you're a bad person or anything. It's just something that's trying to become one with you. That's it. Leslie Jackson, so you stepped in and asked him to leave. He got very angry with me, so I retaliated. Yeah, well, sometimes conflicts happen, Leslie. I can't say that I have any judgment against conflict, because sometimes there's different people. There's different people in the world, and not all of them are arguing with you because they want a relationship. Some of them are arguing because they want to hurt you. So it just depends on who you're in front of, you know. So, but in the end, are you free? At the end, are you free? Are you projecting something onto that moment, or are you actually seeing some truth, you know? So, yeah. Do I practice any martial arts like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling, Muay Thai? I used to do karate, Turtle Bob. I used to, yeah. Yeah, I used to do karate a long time ago. I don't do any right now. I just use my physical energy for the weight training mostly. Zorak 75, do you get more or less trusting of others as you age? I trust people, Zorak, but I don't trust patterns, because it's not about trust anymore. Like I have absolute trust in the universe, absolute trust in life. I've dissolved, you know, there's been mystical things that, like, I can't get into, but there's a whole other thing that I'm aware of now, and there are certain levels of patterns that are governing people, and sometimes the heart is in there, and there's a combination of things. So I'm aware of people's nature. Like, for instance, if a person who is addicted heavily to drugs is in my house, I will also know to hide my wallet. It's because you just know their nature, but it's not because you hate them or you don't trust life. It's just that you understand what governs somebody in that moment. And it's no different than walking by a tiger in the wild. I mean, you're not going to say, hey, nice kitty cat, nice kitty cat. You're going to say, okay, this tiger's probably hungry, and I have to deal with its nature accordingly. It's not about hate. It's not about rejection. It's just about just being a realist about what is governing. What are the instincts governing that being in front of you? But yeah, that's not about trust at all. It's about, I can just see sometimes what, I could just see what governs people, even when they can't see it themselves. That's all I'm saying. And then I work with them accordingly based on that. Yeah. Okay, well, that's pretty good. Alls Dams J. Hi, can you tell me how many times should I train? Well, that's a pretty general question there, Alls. Okay. All right, I think this is it. I think we're pretty much good. Turtle Bob says, thoughts on volume versus intensity debate. Yeah, I think intensity I think they both have their value, okay? But I believe that intensity does flick a switch in your body that says, hey, I need to grow because I am totally weak and this is something that needs to be overcome. But also volume creates a different type of stimulus. Like this happened with my brother and I. I did a 3-day split where I was doing higher amounts of volume than he was per workout. My muscles were growing, but I wasn't going up in strength the same way he was. I also noticed when I was 15, 16 years old and we were doing bench presses in the garage, I was doing 4 sets of 10, not to failure. I was doing higher amount of weight, but my brother was going to failure on the bench press and his chest was getting better shape and better pumped because of it. So there was a different stimulus that was happening based on intensity, which is going to failure, as opposed to just doing the same amount of volume. So do I believe each have validity? Yes, I do, but one is going to stimulate the body differently than the other, which is why I would say do periods of time where you do a bit higher volume, do periods of time where you do higher intensity. And I think, yeah, just realizing that there's more than one variable at work here. And I think that will help you with your training. Leslie Jackson, I'm off to do a workout. Watch out, triceps. Sorry, brother. Yeah, have a good one, Leslie. Hey, Jason, what's the most important back building movement in your opinion? I'm guessing the bent over row. I think the bent over row for overall with the lat and the traps and everything combined. But because of the stretch that the lats get with the pull up or the pull down, I think that that's a great lat builder that cannot necessarily be replaced by rowing. That's all. So I do believe you need the stretching movement a little bit as well as the bent over row type movement. Have you ever tried working out soon after a broken bone? Yeah, I had a broken hand a few times and I had to work out. Yeah, I did it. Melania, I can see you saying hello, Melania. Yeah, you're saying hello lots of times. I can see that. This is a workout channel. We're talking about bodybuilding and fitness. That's what we're working on today. We're talking about bodybuilding and fitness. So yeah. I'm almost done this chat, I think. Almost done. So, okay, any more questions before I go or what? Hey, Devin. Yeah, I'm doing well, man. Hope you're doing well too, buddy. Buddy boy. Mountain. Emin, could I start 1 hour earlier next week if possible? Well, I'm trying to kind of stick kind of consistent there, Emin. I don't know if everybody wants me to start 1 hour earlier. It's an idea, but I'm just trying to basically get as many people kind of in the groove as possible to know when I'm on, so that way I don't have to. It's just easier if we kind of get it to normal, like a normal time, like a schedule, so that way people know to tune in every week. Do I take vitamin C much? Sometimes I do. Vitamin C does work a bit of it as an insulin mimicker, so it helps with carbohydrate uptake. I also don't have a lot of fruits and stuff at this time of year because it's wintertime, there's not as much fresh fruit and stuff like that, so I do take in some vitamin C here and there. Vitamin C is supposed to be also good for bones and ligaments and tendon healing and all that stuff, so I do take it here and there. But do I take it regularly every day? Not really. I do take a multivitamin, but I don't necessarily take vitamin C every day. Yeah. I never heard about vitamin C plus garlic increasing nitric oxide production threefold, but I know vitamin C. I do vitamin C and garlic. I mean, garlic is good for blood pressure and everything like that. I mean, I eat it, but I don't do it at the same time. So it's not like I'm doing some sort of garlic vitamin C cocktail of some sort. Do you do diet programs or just workout programs? I do mostly workout programs, but if somebody does a consultation with me, then if they want, they can talk about their diet. We can look at it and see what they're doing. And discuss what changes they can make based on their goals. Yeah, so I still would do that too. I'm not a nutritionist by any means, nor am I a certified personal trainer. I'm just a guy with a lot of experience that used to be a certified personal trainer. But yeah, that's what I do. So yeah, if you want to do a session, we could do that too. Yeah. Renegade, do you use liposomal vitamin C? I just use normal vitamin C, ascorbic acid, with some bioflavonoids in it or whatever. This is a cat house right here. That's a cat house. Okay, right here, right there. That's a cat house. Because my cats come in the garage at night, and one of them goes in there and whatever. So they like to sit up high. So good night, there, metal man. Do you think you would add a kind of menu to purchase on your website to help us gain muscle? What do you mean menu there, Jordan? What do you mean by menu? Like a menu of food, you mean? Just elaborate on that. What do you mean with that question? Melania Van Hoof, hello, what's you work on YouTube? I know you're probably, I know you're from Europe somewhere. Your English is a little bit, like I don't really understand what you're saying. I'm sure you're a very nice person, but I don't know what you're asking. Thought it was a hat, eh, Kung Fu? Yeah. What's my typical competition weight and arm size? When I was competing, I was 186 pounds after dehydration on stage and about 18 and a half inch arms, somewhere in there. Aloha, GL. How you doing, buddy? Nice. Kung Fu Kickboxer, ever thought about your own line of supplements? Kung Fu Kickboxer, I have thought about my own line of supplements, but unfortunately it costs quite a bit of money. I mean, I'm looking at least $20,000 or $30,000 investment to do that. Plus there's the print on demand type company where basically you get these companies or manufacturers in the States to make your product, and you have to buy a certain amount in advance. And then from there, they would fulfill the shipping orders and everything, which would be great. But at the same time, I'm like, there's paperwork involved, there's taxes, there's like there's stuff, also the liability too, because you want to make sure that you're giving people the best possible thing where you're not hurting them or harming them. There's liability issues whenever you're dealing with nutrition and stuff too. So that's something that I've kind of like, do I really want to deal with that kind of headache too, just in case like there's a bad batch of protein powder from a company that's not in my control somehow, and then what do I do then? But it's something to think about. It's something to think about, and I have been thinking about it, and it has been on the back of my mind. I just had a company approach me too that offered to pay me to promote their product, which is a testosterone booster, which has some herbs in it, some standardized herbs. I had my brother look at the bottle as far as the ingredients, and he said these are standard ingredients for people like tribulus and whatever to help with their own testosterone production, and some minerals like zinc and stuff in there. But at the same time, when a company approaches me that's unknown, that doesn't have a history, that I don't really know much about, in order for me to justify them sponsoring my channel, I have to, first of all, believe in the product. Second of all, I have to do my own testing in an independent lab or facility to say, this product is what it says on the bottle. I do trust them because I actually had it tested myself. So those are two things I need to do. Now that costs money for me to do the testing. And third, I'm thinking if I have to go through this much work, I just might as well sell my own damn product, right? So that's kind of something that I've thought about lately. I'm thinking it's a possibility. It's a possibility because I use protein powder with stevia. I already use this stuff in my own daily life. So it's not like I don't use certain products. I do believe in zinc, magnesium aspartate because it's a good absorbable form of zinc and magnesium. And there are certain companies out there. One of them is a company that I liked before, but then I used their zinc magnesium aspartate and found out it was only 10% aspartate. And then I was getting extreme nausea from taking the zinc otherwise. So I had to basically just throw that bottle out of zinc magnesium aspartate because they were screwing you over, even though they were telling you it's zinc magnesium aspartate. So that's the kind of stuff I don't like. I like to kind of know what I'm taking. So if I did make my own company, it would almost be for selfish reasons, because I'm thinking I want to know what I am eating, and I don't want somebody else making the stuff and then, trying to make a buck off me, but giving me false stuff. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, it's a possibility. It's a possibility. I mean, I do have a great resource. My brother, as a naturopathic doctor and biochemistry major in university and stuff, he would know what the latest trends are and what the best things are to research and to look for in a nutritional supplement. So it's definitely something I could consider if I got to a place where I thought enough people would benefit from me doing it, then maybe it would happen. Yeah. Mapleberry Farms off grid. Hey there, Jeremy. How you doing, buddy? Hey guys, if you haven't checked out Mapleberry Farms Off Grid, he's got a YouTube channel where he's doing off grid stuff. He's on the eastern coast of Canada, and he built a cabin on a piece of land and stuff like that. So go check him out if you want. He uses some of my music in his videos once in a while, and he wears a T-shirt. So thanks for that, there, buddy. And the other thing is that he's selling his farm, selling a place now, and I guess they're going to be doing more of vlogging type thing in the future. So yeah, we'll see how that all comes out. If you could choose to practice a different martial art, which would you choose? Turtle Bob, if I was going to choose a martial art, I'd be choosing jiu-jitsu probably over anything, and judo and wrestling, those ones. And then, of course, the striking martial arts would be the other one, like say karate or boxing. Boxing is better in some way than karate, but at the same time, there's no doubt that if you have those two extra weapons, the legs, that really is helpful in martial art, right? So, but yeah, I'd say for practical reasons, jiu-jitsu and wrestling would be the best probably. And judo, I like judo. What do you think about hip belt squats for quads because I have a bad back? Actually, there's this new machine that is the basis of that, where they basically have a belt and it's set up, and I can't remember what the name of the thing is. It's probably $3,000 or $4,000, this thing, but it is awesome because it's like you could squat, but you don't put any stress on the lower back. And that's a machine that I would consider getting if I was going to put it in this space or something like that. So yeah, I think it's a valid technique for sure. Hip belt squats, if you have lower back issue, why not? The only thing you might find, and I'm not saying you will for sure, but you might find a little bit too much stress in the knees if the weight is hanging forward, because you're not bending over, bringing the hamstrings as much. So it'll just depend on how you're built. So just pay attention to that and see if it's too hard on the knees or not. You know, Jordan, that's a great idea. He's saying, do I have a menu on my website of different foods to eat? So it's not really a calorie restriction sort of thing, but it's just telling you a group of foods to eat in order to be good at natural bodybuilding, stuff like that. I will actually write something up there, Jordan. Basically, so he's asking you just to get something to get people in the right direction of eating like a bodybuilder to get big naturally. Okay, good. Yeah, I'll do something like that. I will actually put some example diet plans on there. I'll sell it for pretty cheap. But yeah, I'll write that up there, Jordan. That's a great idea. Thanks for giving me that idea. I didn't think anybody would want that because I was getting people more like, they want it more like calorie restriction stuff and how many calories should I eat, how much macros and this, that, because I don't really keep track of that as much. I want to give people more generalities because the calories don't always relate. It's not necessarily relatable to everybody. What if one person has a different metabolism than the other? That sort of thing, right? But having something that says, okay, these are the foods that you should eat this many times a day, whatever. This is a recommended sort of idea of what a regular diet would look like, and try this out. That's a good idea. I'll do that, Jordan. Yeah. Devin, I'm starting to build some muscle, but I'm also getting a bit of belly fat. What macronutrient do you think I should cut out or cut lower? Definitely cut sugars down to a lower glycemic type carb. So say if you're having a lot of white rice and a lot of breads or pastas, then definitely cut it down to yams, potatoes, oatmeal, lower glycemic carbohydrate. If you've already done this, then consider perhaps lowering your fats. I don't know where your fats are at. Lower fats first, then from there, I'd cut the carbs back by 1 meal a day or 2 meals, and go from there. Just start with 1 meal, you cut no carbs in there, just replace it with green and protein. And then from there, see how your body responds. And you can eat unlimited protein if you want, like non-fat protein, like chicken breast, tuna, whatever. Then from there, see how your body responds. That's where I would start with that. Any thoughts on eating cottage cheese before sleep? I eat a lot of cottage cheese. I used to eat a lot of it. But the thing is, sometimes lactose and sometimes some people don't respond as well to some milk products and stuff. So it depends on your constitution, I guess. But yeah, great form of protein, and definitely it's good protein. You'll be pumped from it. There's no doubt. So I don't hate it. I just think it's going to be based on the individual for sure. It's definitely a cheap form of protein. That's what I like about it. Mm, 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 mm. Yeah, Jordan, no, I'm glad the 2-day split's working great for you. So yeah, that's good. Yeah, no, I'll help you with the eating. I'll put that on there. That's a great idea. Thanks for suggesting that. Yeah, I'm always open to suggestions, guys. So if you have a need for something and then it's some way I can help make this channel sustainable, then I'm open always. So it's great. Oh, boxing has to be the best fighting system by Kung Fu Kickboxer. I don't know any martial artist that would get in the ring with Mike Tyson in his prime. I guarantee you, Kung Fu Kickboxer, that you're right. Boxing is great, but the thing is that unless Mike Tyson had good takedown defense, which a lot of times boxers don't have the best takedown defense. I mean, but assuming he did, still, I mean, I would say jiu-jitsu is the king because the ground and pound takes out a great boxer any day of the week. I mean, there's no way Floyd Mayweather would have gotten in the ring with Conor McGregor in an octagon. He only got in a boxing ring, but there's no way he would have survived in the octagon. He would have got arm barred or choked out or whatever for sure. So I think boxing is a great core skill, though, that I don't think with my short arms it would have been a great martial art for me. But at the same time, it is a great skill, and I think it can be devastatingly effective if you're doing a standard sort of fight. But once it goes to the ground, which most fights do, like you see the Brazilian jiu-jitsu guys, got somebody come in there with kickboxing experience or a boxer, and all they do is just fake them out and boom, go for the legs on the ground, then choked out or armbarred within minutes, you know? And so I think that a lot of street fights, especially when you're fighting in you know, let's talk about martial arts. It's about fighting and defense. I mean, if you're in obstacle-strewn places, like there's curbs, there's gardens, there's plants, there's different terrain. Sometimes it's slippery. Sometimes you're fighting on snow. Sometimes you're fighting on mud. There's a very strong chance it's going to go to the ground if you're not in a ring. And if that goes to the ground, jiu-jitsu is going to reign supreme for sure. You know, wrestler or jiu-jitsu for sure reign supreme. Boxers don't have any chance once you put them on their back, right? So I think you need a blend of all of it there. But I'm not saying boxing isn't impressive. I love boxing as a sport. I think these guys are amazing athletes. And I think, again, I've seen some boxers fight in street fights. And if it stays on the feet, they're pretty devastating. I have to say, pretty devastating to watch. But yeah, I think there's it depends on what arena you're in will depend on which one will have the most effectiveness for sure. Okay, I don't know what's going on here. There's different language. Some of you guys are speaking a different language here. Which is no problem. I just don't have a translation here, so I don't know what's being said here. Yeah. Cool, cool. Okay, well, let me see here. Okay, so Devin saying, thanks, you're at 170 pounds, 140 grams of protein, 350 grams of carbs, 95 grams of fat, but I think what you said is a good idea. Cool. Cool, man. I like it when people like my ideas. That's what I'm here for. It's for you to like my ideas, man. I'm going to try the whole body 3 days a week program. I think I've been overtraining doing 6 days a week, 2 days split, took 3 weeks off. For 1 week, all my joints and bones were sore. You know, some things, there's also a blend sometimes of remember, I think, Gavin, we talked, I think you started adding extra sets or extra volume too. One of the big mistakes people make with higher frequency training is they feel like, oh, I didn't get enough of a pump. I got to get those extra sets in. I got to get those extra sets in. And then what they do is they overtrain real quick because they don't realize that when you have a higher frequency training program, you cannot get the same volume in. If you try to get in 20 sets for a body part, but you're doing it 3 times a week, you're going to overtrain real quick. If you try to get in 10 sets per workout 3 days a week, you're going to overtrain really quick. The whole point is keeping the volume low. If you start messing around with the system and messing around with the program, it's going to screw you. You're going to basically get overtrained. So it's not really the program that's the problem. It's that you're messing with it. That's usually the problem. And yeah, it's a mentality that takes a bit of time to break. It was like that with me when I went from 3 day split to 2 day split. I thought, oh, geez, I'm not really finished my workout. Not really. And then I made the same mistake. I added some extra sets, and then of course the next workout would come along, I'd be totally sore and just feel like garbage, and so it wouldn't work. So yeah, you got to be careful with that. Yeah, Gavin. Yeah, because I think that you and I talked a little bit about that, and yeah, you're feeling guilty. You were following the guilt thing, and you weren't trusting. You weren't trusting in the mountain. You weren't trusting in the system that it was going to be fine if you didn't do so much more. you just stick to the program. That's what, I think I did say that, and it might have been somebody else, but just stick to the program and trust in that. And then from there, you'll see there's a totally different experience that happens. But the first priority in it is make sure that you recover by the time the next workout comes up. If you're a tiny bit sore, that's okay. But if you're just dying because you felt bad and you said, I have to get that extra chest pump or back pump or whatever, then yeah, you're gonna crumble under the volume because you're underestimating the effectiveness and how hard it is on the system when your frequency goes up. Yeah, Turtle Bob. I've never practiced any martial art, but I would imagine that one I would find the most fun would be Muay Thai. Well, yeah, you probably would until you got your nose broken, and then you'd be like, I think I'll go back to jiu-jitsu because everybody likes martial arts until they take a good one in the face, and then they're like, maybe, after I got that jaw surgery, maybe this is not as much fun. So that's the other thing that people don't think about when it comes down to striking. I remember talking to a guy that was a barroom brawler, and he was a jiu-jitsu specialist and a wrestler and all this, and he used to say, Jason, it doesn't really matter how good of a boxer you are. There's always that one fluky thing in timing. You're going left and then the punch is coming from the left at the same time. There's this weird sort of thing that happens because there's random accidents that happen in striking, right? Where sometimes you can be the best boxer in the world, but then as luck would have it, you're moving left and then the punch is coming from the left at the same time. And the timing is just off in that moment because maybe the person moves differently than you're used to. And, just weird things like that happen, unexpected. And he said it was more predictable that once you took somebody to the ground to strategically tie them up, there was less chance based on momentum and reflexes. That's the point. It was more strategic at that point, and then you could control the fight. So that's the thing. So yeah, Muay Thai, freaking rough. You take an elbow to the face. I had my nose moved right over. I had to get surgery, put it back. It's definitely karate. That was just karate because we had these thin gloves, and the guy just came when I was a teenager and just bonk, and then moved my nose over. And yeah, that was a couple of months recovery, and even pressing on my nose, it would crack and crinkle and stuff. So it's brutal. Yes. Is quality low-fat sausage okay to eat and stay lean? I don't know. Try it out, but it depends on how low-fat and how much carbs you're having. It's I find it has to have, like, say it's 10 grams of protein, it has to have 3 grams of fat or less per 10 grams of protein. I find that's almost a good measure. Yeah. Yeah, boxing is an awesome form of cardio. There's no doubt about that, Emin. Yeah. Oh no, it's extremely tough. When I was doing karate, we would spar for 5-10 minutes. You'd just be winded, just dying. It was like unbelievable, intense cardio. Yeah. But I would definitely not be able to hold on to muscle mass when I was doing that. My muscle mass would just go down to nothing. I would lose 10 pounds within 2 or 3 weeks because the sparring was just so intense. Hey, Mountain, I'm 45, train 3 days per week, base my diet on all healthy whole foods. I have, okay, Dave, first of all, when you say you base your diet on all healthy whole foods, let's not talk about healthy whole foods. Let's talk about what that healthy whole foods are made of, like some good yam muffins are good healthy whole foods, but that doesn't mean it's going to be good for fat loss, right? So just because you eat whole foods doesn't mean your diet is in check with getting a lean body fat percentage, right? I could be nourished up the wazoo with stews and soups and all the homemade, nourished, organic, this and that, whatever, but that doesn't mean I'm going to get lean, right? Because I'm going to be too nourished. Nourishing the fat stores too. So that's why it does. When you say healthy, it doesn't really mean a hell of a lot to me, although I'm glad that you're doing that. But at the same time, if you're saying that you want to lose body fat level, then you have to look at a deeper level of your nutrition and deeper level of what you're doing. Training 3 days a week is really not that much either. If you're only moving 3 days a week, I don't know how active your life is outside of those 3 days that you're training. If you're doing construction or if you're working for a living or doing something outside, like that's very physical, then that would be different. But if you're doing 3 days a week and then the rest of the week you're sitting in an office chair, I wouldn't say that that's going to be the recipe for success when it comes down to bodybuilding and fitness either. So I'm not saying it's impossible, but your chances will go up the more you move to a point, right? So yeah, Yeah, you need to basically make sure your protein is higher than your energy food, and at the same time, your energy food cannot be too high. If it's too high, then you will not lose any body fat, no matter how much you train. I mean, as somebody said to me a long time ago, and it's true to a point. You cannot out-train a bad diet. You can't. A bad diet will kill you any time of the week. You can't out-train it, and not when it comes to bodybuilding. Yeah. Mike asks, if you're always tearing up your joints from hard physical work, what's the best way to train and build muscle? I'd say lightweight, not lightweight, but like moderately lightweight, constant tension, never locking out the joints, and don't be bouncing on the joints at all. That's for sure. Yeah. Follow my advice on this channel for sure, 100%. Yeah. Would you get into karate again now? No, Zorak, I wouldn't. It's not that I don't like it, but the thing is that then my bodybuilding would go to crap. So I'd have to choose one or the other, because when you're fighting, one of the things also is my dislocating shoulder. So this, I can throw a punch, I could throw punches and stuff, but just because my shoulder is lax, like it moves forward and back in the joint, it would not necessarily be good for the joints as much. I find that my joints feel best when I have muscle mass and muscles to support the joints and stuff. I enjoy martial arts and moving and stuff, but I also found that, yeah, there's tweaks and stuff that happen in any sort of sport too, right? And I just wouldn't be able to maintain the same muscle mass doing karate. Not that karate's bad, but because I've chosen weight training to be my chosen discipline, I probably wouldn't be doing much karate. Yeah. Jedi or Sith. I like the Sith powers, I have to say. I don't like their attitude much, but the Sith powers are pretty amazing with that. Electric bolts and stuff, I like that. So Jedi mindset, Sith powers. That's what I want. Okay, cool. All right. I think we're good. I think it. Okay, man. Okay, so have you tried soaked oats, Jason? Yes. If you mean by just soaking them in water and a little bit of yogurt at night, and then the next day there's less, whatever that thing is in there that pulls your minerals out of your body or whatever. Yeah. Yeah. GL, I answered that question, and no, GL, I will never take testosterone when I get older. I don't believe in testosterone replacement therapy. I think it's a, I don't know. I just think it's a easy way out of not getting to the root issue of what's going on in the body. Somebody decides to do that, I'll still love them anyway if they want to do that, but that's just not what I'm going to do. No. How much fat did I gain through the holidays? Not that much. I didn't really eat that much. I ate a little bit of crap here and there, some potato chips and some pop and stuff, and I went to a movie and got some popcorn or whatever, but I was already fat before, so maybe that's why. It was a little bit too much fat already. I guess maybe that's why I didn't gain too much. But yeah, I'm going to lean up here a little bit here. Cool. GL, there's lots of different things you can look at. I mean, such as mineral deficiencies, toxins, as far as how do you fix testosterone problems. A lot of hormonal issues come from also, different toxins in our foods and in preservatives and pesticides, all this kind of stuff. So a lot of these things are actually causing the issue. It's not always like some sort of like problem that is just from age. You know what I'm saying? It's like the mileage sometimes. So I know a guy that's around 50 years old, actually, guy I know, and he said his testosterone level is still off the charts. That's how high it is. But, so I don't know. I'm just saying I don't believe in putting a drug or a hormone into the system that isn't naturally occurring already in the body by itself, because it's a delicate balance. And once you start messing with that balance, there can be problems. That's all. Yeah. Can one make gains at any age without hormone replacement? Well, there was a study years ago that 80-year-old was making strength gains by weight training. So yeah, I would say yes. Metal Man, these are not the weights you're looking for. Yes, that's exactly the Jedi power. When I want to get my own machine at the gym, these are not the weights you're looking for. That's right. That's good. Yeah. After being in shape, what do you recommend to achieve recognition in the fitness industry? Example, modeling. Well, Lewis, Daniel, there's a whole different thing going on now. I mean, it's a totally different age, because when I was heavily involved in the industry, for a person in my region anyway, I mean, compared to a person that lived in LA, I was non-existent. But for a person that lived in Vancouver, I was pretty established as far as I go down to LA, get in front of photographers, then they'd market those pictures to the magazines, and then you'd end up on the cover of a magazine or inside a magazine somewhere and stuff like that. But it was basically something you do pretty much for free most of the time. There was a couple paying gigs, like the muscle media thing that I did with my brother. Those people would pay very, very well. They pay about $1,000 a day, which was great. But at the same time, there was not there was not the social media movement as there is now. Now, I mean, you get the average person photoshopping their picture, putting it on Instagram, and they get more fame and fortune than anybody on a magazine cover, you know? So the best thing I could say is network, create a social media following through your Instagram or through whatever way you think best represents what it is that you're willing to share. And yeah, once you have a following, then a company will want to advertise their products or services with you, and then they will contact you. But in the end, it's a very competitive environment. I'm not really sure exactly what the best way to establish yourself out there now is, because there's so many people who are also not natural, who are not playing by the same rules you might be, and they're way more impressive to see on social media. So they get more of an attraction, kind of like that shock value, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know exactly what the best way to compete against that is now. I mean, I'm running into that same problem with my YouTube channel, right? They see me bench press and their squat or whatever, and they're like, oh, that's not impressive. I just saw a guy do 1,000,000 pounds yesterday, you know? So in the end, you'll have to look at how you can best serve people. And being a person who is going to be picked up by a company or paid for anything, it's all going to be based on your audience. Where back in the day, it wasn't necessarily based on your audience. It was more about, could you represent the brand the best? As far as, say, a company wanted to sponsor you and put you in an ad in a magazine, it was like, okay, did you have the abs? Did you look good? Good. That makes our product look good. No problem. We'll use you. And there's not a lot of people around that we can find. So good. We'll find you. It was based on supply and demand. Now it's like there's 1 million people that are contactable in 1 second on YouTube, on Instagram, that have 1 million followers or 100,000 followers, and then they end up finding those people. So it's more a war of an audiences now. That's really what it's at. It's really competitive that way, and that's really, you know, all a company wants a person for now is for their audience. It's not really for the person as much. You could have a person that looks like kind of garbage, but if they have 1 million followers, a company can advertise their new protein supplement on that person's channel and probably get more of a response from that channel than, say, somebody that looks like the best in the world but only has 10,000 followers. So this is an interesting new dynamic that's kind of developed in social media that I'm not sure exactly what the best way for a fitness person, I don't know really how it's going to work. Now, the other thing is, there's not really any money for a natural bodybuilder in the fitness industry. There's really no cash prizes. There's really no such thing as a professional natural bodybuilder, really. Although there are some companies that are trying their best to do this, because all money comes from what? Audience and sponsors. And if there's no audience, there's no sponsors. And in natural bodybuilding, how big is the audience? There's not really a big audience. And because there's not really a big audience, there's not big sponsorship money. And therefore, there's not big prize money for the competitors. So it's not necessarily a career. That's all I can say. If you're going to make a career from being a natural bodybuilding model of some sort, you're lean or whatever, you're going to have to build a social media following through building some sort of media empire of some sort. But it's not going to happen from somebody just giving you money if you have no audience just because you have a good ab vein or something. I don't think that's going to happen. No. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to see here what else Lewis is saying. So, yeah, Lewis, you know, this was a big obstacle for me even back in the 90s, like the late 90s and early 2000s. It was like, how do you make a living in an industry being a natural bodybuilder full of people who aren't natural or are semi-natural through, some contests that were urine tested. These guys were like advertised on, TSN or ESPN as natural, but they weren't natural. I met them. I talked to them. I saw what they were doing. I was going from a real natural show on the WNBF, polygraph tested everything. Then I go compete in this other show just because it had way more media attention. And I looked at these guys on stage and I was like, what, am I in the Mr. Olympia right now? It was like guys are 240, 250 on stage at like 4%, 5% body fat. I was like, holy shit. Like, these guys are supposed to be natural. And then of course you hear them talking and they weren't natural. So the thing is that there's all sorts of different things, but if you follow the money trail, you're going to find out pretty quick how to get established or how you're not going to ever be established in that industry. It's all about money. And honestly, audience is what companies are after. Companies are after audience now. And so the whole fitness industry was always about how do we create a convincing argument for our product or service. And some of those companies were very legitimate. Their products were very real and very good. And the protein powder was good. And they had sometimes magazines, sometimes the company would make a magazine and give you real education about a product. And then they would say, hey, buy our product. So the magazine was really a glorified advertisement, which is not necessarily a bad thing, although people usually say it's bad. But if the product is still good, it's not bad, because this, again, is a way they were supporting the magazine to give you free, good information. Because some of the information in the magazines were good. Muscle Fitness, not necessarily so good, but Muscle Media had some pretty cutting edge information that was pretty useful. So that said, the whole dynamic, the whole field has changed now. So now it's not, I don't know if there's really much of an income for fitness industry people, unless you're going to compete on the Olympia stage and get top 10 or something. I really don't know. I really don't know where the money is as far as the sustainability of a fitness career. I don't know really what a fitness career looks like besides having social media following or some sort of social media type of app or something like that. I don't know what it looks like beyond that. Yeah. Yeah, Kung Fu Kickboxer, that's right. Yeah, some guy saying the BS on, I tell you. There's some amazing BS that some of the drug addicts on the internet are trying to say just to cover up their addiction to whatever it is they're doing. They're trying to basically legitimize their accomplishment based on what, they're just trying to justify their accomplishment by saying what they did to accomplish what they did was not useful and it didn't really help. I would have been this great anyway, that kind of thing. I don't know. There's some really dumb people with massive social media followings, which is extremely disturbing to the truth sayers. I'll tell you that. I don't get it, but yeah. What? Okay. Somebody said, what percentage of people could achieve your physique? Regular Jack, I don't know how to address that question because it depends on genetics, and it depends on whether they are brave enough to find what works for them instead of following the pack. Depends on the priorities. A lot of things depend. So what percentage, I really don't know, but I know my genetics were above average. I'm not bragging there. I'm just saying, and if anything, it's the opposite of bragging, because saying that my genetics were above average means that I had no contribution whatsoever to what I achieved. So, but at the same time, I would say, yeah, I'd say a larger percentage than people like to admit if they really put in the work and the priorities over a period of a decade or two. Yeah. Yeah, Devin, welcome to the natural bodybuilding life. He goes, it really annoys me when people say that he doesn't look like movie stars, so he must not work out hard enough, but he's saying the movie stars take steroids and stuff. And that's the truth. A lot of the movie stars, they'll get ready for a role and they'll hormone it up, a few months before, and then they look great on screen because they only have to look good on screen for a couple of days or a couple of weeks. And then from there, they look like garbage after, because they basically just go on and off and whatever. I saw this in the bars back in the day where I'd see a guy show up to the bar and within 1 week, he looked better than I did. And I'd been training for 8 years at the time. But within 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe I'm exaggerating, it was actually about a month, okay? And then the person would look like awesome, and I'd look like garbage. And they weren't eating a super clean diet. They were still drinking and doing whatever. So all of a sudden it looked like people would look at me and then they look at him like, wow, he looks really great. They'd be asking him training questions, not me. And I was like a high-level natural bodybuilder at the time. And I'm like, wow, this is really, really disheartening. It was really disheartening at that time of my life. But don't worry. As they say, the fat lady has not sung yet, as they do in the opera. You know what I'm saying? Just bide your time. And one day you'll be sitting there with a physique that is maintainable and is something that people envy, but at the same time, you won't have to poison yourself to get it. And then look at the guys that did what they did to get their physique, and you'll see. And a long line of them will come to me now, and some of them are beautiful people. They're good people. I'm not saying they're bad people, but they're coming to me now, and they're like, man, I wish I would have did what you did, because their bodies are messes now. Their hormones are all a mess, and they've got all these different side effects or problems. So yeah, there's no shortcuts in life. There's really no shortcuts, but just know it's worth it to not take the shortcut. It is worth it. It's worth it. You'll have a life with a foundation, a strong foundation, not something that just comes and goes, So I hope that helps you out a little bit. Thanks, Ale Ren, for the support there. Just sent me $5. Thank you for that there, Ale Ren. Shakti Shaker, you're saying the LOL MSS are the third leading cause of cancer in North America. What's MSS? You're answering IPO 789? He's saying that are drugs really that bad considering doctor supervision? I'd say they're horrible. And yes, what you earned naturally will also come back naturally. Yes, that's true. And you get that muscle memory from it. I'm not saying you can't get muscle memory from the other route, but you'll get muscle memory probably and also your sicknesses and diseases too. So who wants that? Depends what you want to remember, right? Okay, so spell check. MDS. What's MDS? Could you just spell things out, Shakti Shaker? I don't know what you're doing. You're using letters here. Timmy Thistle's asking, what is my favorite forearm exercise? I don't do forearm exercises. I just grip weights. That's what I do. For some reason, I get a really strong amount of mind muscle connection with the forearms. A lot of times, my forearms are basically given out before my biceps do, and curls and stuff. So okay, Jamie. So medical doctors, you're saying, okay. Could you do okay, whoever this person, just do a full statement. Medical doctors. Can you do a full statement, all one sentence, just saying what you want to say, rather than just this and that? What are you saying? You're debating with somebody in the comments here, so I want to know what you're saying. Okay, Carlos, what's your opinion on SARMs? Crap, more crap, don't use them, crap. Okay, that's my opinion on SARMs. Okay, Alexander Stevens, there we go. We got somebody with some intelligence here talking. He goes, my doctor told me all his steroid-using patients from the 90s are on kidney dialysis or dead. There you go. Okay, Tamaz Salito. Hello, brother. Happy New Year's. Happy New Year's to you, buddy. I've always been chubbier, but really have been struggling to lose weight in the long term. Any recommendations? Much love. Diet, like what you eat is going to make the biggest difference, right? So, okay, so Shakti Shaker, you're saying third leading cause of death is what? You're not making full sentences again. You're okay. So again, you're missing the point. I keep on telling you, put a full sentence and a full paragraph together rather than just like glitches. So I know what the whole context of what you're saying to this other person is. Thanks. You're saying doctor supervision means crap. I agree with you there, because doctor supervision of giving you arsenic is not necessarily going to free you from the repercussions of arsenic. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, even doctors will tell you this. I mean, doctors are not all bad. I mean, a lot of them are good, but they're also dealing with limitations when they have an unrealistic expectation from a patient who says, hey, this is what I want for my life. And they're like, well, okay, you do this, but there's going to be some cost you have to deal with for that. Medical errors are common everywhere, even in Canada too. I mean, basically where, there's misdiagnoses or there's, people get the wrong drug for what condition they have. I mean, utensils left in people after surgery. There's so much stuff. It's crazy. Yeah. Whey protein is healthy. It's fine. It's fine, Mahesh and Govender. Yeah, whey protein is fine. I've used it lots and haven't died, so it's good. Hello, brother. What's your opinion on Eric Helms? Okay, these people, evidence-based business. Okay, first of all, I'm going to just remove this, not because I don't like you or anything, so thanks, Matthias, for your comment, but I don't like to talk about people specifically. But usually when people say their stuff is evidence-based, what they're trying to do is say they're trying to justify their lack of gains in a lot of cases, or they're trying to just basically come up with whatever way they can to basically discount anything that I'm saying, because I'm saying stuff from my own experience and what's worked and what doesn't. And these guys are just trying to come up with a way of just discrediting anybody that shares their own experiences and saying, oh, that's just not science. Well, if I produce the same result in other people and the result in myself and seen other people establish results with what I'm saying, then that would provide enough evidence, in my opinion, to justify what I'm saying. And you guys will know by applying some of the things that I'm saying, you're experiencing some good results. So that should be proof enough. So what I would say is try deeply listening to what I'm saying, see what I'm saying, apply some things, see if they work, see if they pertain to you. And that's really it. And that way you'll get your proof. And you won't need to know what I think or what I don't think about somebody. And you won't need to just compare opinions all the time, because right now there's a lot of people that just slander and say whatever they want about other people, but they're not necessarily saying the truth just because they have an opinion about somebody. So find out for yourself. That's what I would say. Find out for yourself. Weigh and measure based on what you experiment with, based on the training techniques, principles, whatever, and see if they work for you. And if they work, then there's a good chance that maybe this person's saying something credible. Okay, Shakti Shaker saying previous guy said doctor supervised steroids are safe. It means jack because doctors are third leading cause of death. Yeah, okay. All right. Again, there's more autocorrect, spell correct crap in there. So again, you got to fix that. I don't know why you can't do that, but anyway. GL saying Arnold Schwarzenegger donates to name if you are still alive. Yeah, you know, there's also people who smoke till they're 100 years old, they're GL, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's the most efficient way to maintain health. Arnold's also had a heart surgery, right? So would he have had that heart surgery? I mean, I know he had a genetic predisposition, but it's a question. It's a legitimate question. And I do know guys in my gym, back in the other gym I worked out at Maple Ridge, this guy that was a doctor, or not a doctor, sorry, he was a teacher, and he would train all the time. Nice guy, super nice guy, but he had experimented with some stuff, and sure enough, he's only 40 years old, and all of a sudden, closed arteries in his heart, had to get heart surgery. And I'm like, geez, how'd that happen? He was training every day, he was watching his eating and all this, and then boom, heart surgery. So there is definitely some connection between hormone use and stuff, and also the clogged arteries and things, and heart disease. Is it possible to achieve 1960s golden era bodybuilding physiques naturally? Well, yeah, it is if you have the right genetics, but you have to have the right genetics. You can't just like assume that you're going to be 6 feet tall if you're 5'8". You know what I'm saying? Like these are the things. It works the same way with bodybuilding, right? You're not going to have the same shape. Do you believe soy raises estrogen? I don't know for sure, but it's possible. I've been eating these soy protein bars quite a bit, and I noticed that I retain a little bit of water when I eat them. So that's probably a sign of that. Maheshan Govender, is the conventional back squat sufficient enough for complete leg workout? Thank you for this live session. You're welcome there, Maheshan. You can contribute $5 million to my website within the next 30 minutes. Otherwise, I will not give you advice. No, I'm just kidding. Am I? Anyways, is the squat enough? I would say the squat is enough if you're built for the squat. But if you notice your lower back is the biggest issue in the squat, then maybe you'll need to do some other things. I found squatting was great for me, but I found once I started doing one-legged movements along with squatting, I got more gains. So I would just say that it's good to mix up the exercises. It's not always good to stick to just one, because there are a number of different factors that go into play when squatting happens. A lot of different muscles hit failure. Your ass might hit failure before your quads do. Who knows, right? Lower back, because it plays such a big role in squatting, can sometimes become the weak link. So you want to make sure that you're doing some movements that are emphasizing the legs as the weak link, not just the lower back. Hi, Jason. After having a break from working out due to a massive buildup of uni work, I'm a film student. I'm finally going back to the gym. Just want to say I really appreciate your help and advice. Good, C Breaker. And who knows, I might need you for some film advice one of these days. I'm using a Canon C200 now, and I'm working with RAW files, and my computer's crashing all the time now, even though, well, it's an older one, so I got to get a new one. So that's why I need to up these super chats and these donations here so I can get a $10,000 computer to actually work with RAW files so I can get better colors. That's what I need to do. That's my goal. That's my next level of filmmaking. So yeah, now I got a filmmaker in my comments here. Good, so I can use your advice. Okay, I keep on telling people, guys, could you just not ask me about other YouTubers and stuff and people? Like, I don't want to really answer questions about people, especially because I might have a negative thing or a positive thing to say about some things. So, yeah. Although the person, Emin, you just mentioned somebody, I'm not going to say the negative about that person, but at the same time, I'm just trying to make it a rule on the live chats just because it gets complicated sometimes. Link with natural myostatin levels and genetic potential. Yeah, there could be definitely a link there. I don't know exactly how deep it is or not, but yeah, there could be a link. There could be a link in anything. You just know, like I grew up around different people, and some guys, they just like instantaneously touch weights, boom, balloon up, heavier bench press, got stronger than me. Just for the record, I was not the best bodybuilder or muscle mass monster as I trained. I got some good shape in the biceps right away. Within 3 or 4 months of training, I was getting some shape in my biceps and my triceps as a kid when I was 15, 14 years old, But I had other friends that were just way more genetically gifted than I was, but they just didn't value that gift. And they would train for a month or two and then give up, and train for a month and then give up, where I stuck with it. That was the difference. And then at some point, I just basically outpaced them. I got to a point where they couldn't catch up anymore. But they had way better genetics as far as putting on instant muscle mass and looking impressive. That's what I would say. So yeah, there's definitely something to be said for genetics, but there's also something to be said for overcoming adversity and consistency. That's one thing I think is very much underestimated. Yeah. Thoughts on dairy raising estrogen? Yeah, I might. That's why standard protocol for bodybuilding shows and stuff is not to drink milk products before the show, because 2 or 3 weeks out, you'll retain some water, or you could retain some water. Yeah. Great. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you're right. Yeah, some people have the best genetics, but it's like that with people with money, right? People, like, say they're born into a rich family, they don't necessarily become great entrepreneurs from that. Sometimes they just, piss the money away in some sort of weird gambling addiction or something like that. Like, what's given to you freely that isn't earned is not necessarily appreciated. And sometimes people with genetics don't appreciate what they have, and they just waste it. I mean, but it's also to each their own. Not everybody's interested in becoming a bodybuilder, and I get that. I mean, it's not exactly the best way to spend your time either. I mean, maybe there's other more creative ways to maybe become a great writer or a great computer programmer or whatever, right? But yeah, sometimes people who are naturally gifted training are not necessarily enthusiastic enough to take that to their genetic potential. Yeah. Great. Okay. All right. Well, that was almost 3 hours. I'm getting hungry, guys. I got to go eat. So I'm going to say good night tonight. But thanks to those of you who have offered some super chats tonight. That helps. If you want to donate so that I can keep doing these live streams on Fridays, guys, go to my website, naturalgalantbodybuilding.com, and there you can make a donation, or you can buy some music or a workout program or whatever. I will have some nutritional guidelines put on there based on a suggestion that was made today for making bodybuilding gains as a natural bodybuilder. But yeah, please contribute. Please consider becoming a Patreon so that way I can continue doing this stuff. This stuff takes a lot of work, a lot of time, and a lot of equipment. And I'm not exaggerating when I say I need to have a computer that is capable of processing some of the files that I'm working with in my videos. And I will be making a video pretty much every day of the week, so make sure you tune in. Every day I'll be putting up a video. So I hope I've helped you out a little bit anyway tonight. And if I haven't helped you out, hopefully we become closer friends. So that's all that matters, really. So, but bless you guys, no matter what religion, creed, race, whatever you are. And I hope that you're safe no matter where you are in the world. And those of you who are in Australia, I hope that the highest miracles happen for you and that you are not in any way in any danger whatsoever. So take care of yourselves, and I will see you tomorrow. And I will be uploading a video on the secret to getting bigger biceps, and the bicep training video. It's going to be a good one. So check it out. All right. So remember, mountain, and take care for now.